November 6, 2012 meeting of the Carlynton School Board of Directors is called to order. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. And we have from Crafton a pledge, it looks like. If you would.
May I introduce to Elena Hefner? She is a 5th grade student at Crafton Elementary. Elena is here because she is one of our most outstanding readers, and I'll give you the proof of that. The Accelerated Reader Program, our students do independent reading, they take a quiz and earn points. In 4th grade, last year, the kids had to earn, do you remember, I think maybe 12 points every 9 weeks, I think? So 12 points, for a total of 48 points in the school year. Tell them how many you got.
800.
How does that work?
So she sort of passed that goal, right? So far this year, and we've been in school for a little over a week, how many points do you have so far?
119.
Wow.
But wait. Tell them what your goal for 5th grade is.
1,000 points.
1,000 points. So we are going to support all of our readers, but especially Elena in this very, very lofty goal. Want to thank her dad is here to support her, as well as her 4th grade teacher, Mrs. Alex, from last year, who recommended her to come this evening.
Wonderful.
So, yeah.
And you know this, you know the Pledge of Allegiance. Can you lead us? Can you start us off?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, honey. Good luck. Secretary will call the roll.
Director Hugo.
She will not be attending this evening.
Director Shariffa.
She will not be attending this evening.
Director Walkoviak.
Here.
Director Wilson.
Here.
Director Schreiber.
Here.
Director Apple.
Here.
Director Shell.
Present.
Director Tesoro.
Here.
Director Russo.
Here. We'll move on first to public comment on business before the board. Of course, anything that is on our agenda, if someone wishes to rise and address the board on that item, now's the time to do it. If you're here and would like to address the board on something else, we have a portion of our meeting at the end, open forum, and you can bring up anything you'd like at that point in time. Seeing no one rising to address anything on the agenda, we'll move on. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the August 23rd, 2012 meeting. Is there such a motion? So moved. There is a motion. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Any discussion? There being none, we will vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Reports. I will start by telling you we just came out of a 1-hour executive session where we discussed personnel and some legal. And I think that was it, the issues basically we discussed. Turning to Mr. Pfeiffer for our administrative reports.
Well, as everybody knows, we're back to school and getting the clubs and activities back in gear and adjusting the courses for students. This year course is unique in that the Keystone exams, as we discussed in earlier meetings, are quite frankly upon us. And those exams will be for all the juniors to take Algebra 1, English Literature and Biology, as well as 9th and 10th grade students who have had those courses. And they will be taking those exams in the first testing window that the high school has established in December. So to anticipate that and see who needs additional help in math, particularly with algebra, we've been testing the kids, giving them what we call CDTs, classroom diagnostic tests. We're in the beginning process of that to see who may need additional tutoring, additional help in math instruction. If it's been a couple years since they've taken an algebra class, it's very important to us to get them that intervention during the day while we have them. So we're in the process of getting those things together for the kids. Also, you may have seen in the billboard, we have a big Oveas kickoff. The Olympics coming up tomorrow. That's a district-wide initiative. A lot of people, the administrative team and faculty have worked very hard. And I'll allow Ms. Burns and Dr. Sassini to talk a little bit more about that from their end. But that's kicking off tomorrow. And of course, tomorrow night is our first home opener football game as we take on Clare. So we have a lot of activities that are coming forth in the fall, including auditions for the fall play. So I think it's a very exciting time to be back. We're hoping the kids are getting used to the routine and excited to come back and make this a great year. Now at this time I'd like to turn it over to Kirby, Business Manager, for a report.
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Dr. Sassini.
It would be, okay, our first portion of our report, Mrs. Burns is going to, I'll take you in a second.
As Mr. Pfeiffer mentioned, we have started the CDT process. We've worked for the last week and a half to really get the system up and running, to train the teachers who will be administering the tests in their classes. And the actual testing process started today with the 10th and 11th grade math students taking the Algebra 1 CDT. So over the next month, up until October 2nd, every day we will have at least 2 grade levels testing on the CDTs, either Algebra 1 or math for the 7th and 8th graders. They will all be taking the bio or the science CDT, and all students in grades 7 through 11 will also be taking the reading and literature CDT. So it's a very extensive process, but we're hoping to get some really great data to help us with some remediation for the students. So that process has begun, and it went off fairly smoothly today as well. So we were happy about that. And we would like to thank the technology department definitely for working quickly. We didn't have a lot of time to set things up, so to push out that kind of software to the different labs and computer carts, it was definitely much appreciated.
Again, very briefly, as Mr. Pfeiffer pointed out, tomorrow is our first home football game against defending state champion Carlynton Bears, who've not lost, I think, since Bill Clinton was in office. But we're hoping for an upset based on last week's results. But point of note, the kickoff time has been changed this season. It's going to be 7 p.m. as opposed to 7:30. So we'll get that information out there.
Well, Dr. Sassini, that's fine. What was the thinking behind that, though?
That had been determined last spring, I think, because what we've been noticing, the high school games seem to finish later and later and later. And because we wanted students we had younger students coming to the games, we wanted to make sure that they got home in a fair amount of time. Because some of our games last year went past 10:15, 10:30 in some cases. So we just thought that was a better way. And I know the athletic office checked around other schools, so the 7 o'clock seemed to be one of the more common times now as opposed to 7:30.
Thank you.
Just wanted everybody's number to early to mark your calendars for the band festival. It's going to be Saturday, September the 29th. Once again, fireworks and great music all evening, so I hope as many of you as possible can make it. And then finally, our secondary education meeting will begin, our first meeting of the new school year will take place next Wednesday, about between 2:50 and 3 o'clock here in the high school library.
Thank you.
Dr. Maslin?
I did put the latest version of our Crafton newsletter in everyone's place. I won't go through all of it, but I did want to point out, and especially since we have one of our distinguished faculty here in the audience, we're certainly proud that both elementaries have met AYP. Crafton has done so for the 7th year in a row. And we want to especially recognize our 4th grade teachers and their students from last year, Mrs. Alex here. It was the first time that a grade level achieved 100% proficiency. Our entire 4th grade last year was 100% proficient in math, so we are very, very proud of that. And in addition to that, Mrs. Rex's 6th grade class last year also reached that impressive benchmark, so we just want to highlight those teachers and students for that wonderful accomplishment. Wanted to just remind everybody that Meet the Teacher Night at the elementary level is next Thursday, September 13th. Mrs. Hudson left me a message too. She wants to let everybody know that Carnegie had a busy and successful start to the school year, and that their book fair will start tomorrow and run through next week's open house. And that if you are interested, you can purchase items online from Scholastic Book Fairs also. And that is all I have to report.
Ms. Meifer?
Thank you. I handed out the order forms for the Oveas t-shirts in case anyone is interested. We are starting the Oveas program in different buildings. We're starting classroom meetings. The big Olympic day for Oveas, the Oveas Olympics that is promoting district-wide unity, is September 28th, and that was organized by a committee. So we're grateful to the committee, and that was made up of Lisa Riley, Emery Bunch, Jessica Bigler, Anna Kostrick, Julie Lewis, and Marianne Clark from the different buildings. And so they're organizing a full day of Olympic programs reflecting bullying prevention throughout the district to get all the students together and have, we're really putting older students with younger students, having activities through the day, and going back to the buildings in the afternoon kind of to thank one another and process what happened and talk about bullying prevention, and then inviting the community that evening to the football game. So it should be a great day. I also wanted to say that we're looking for volunteers for a lot of programs that we have coming up this year. And one is, I handed out information, the after-school program. I know we've talked a lot about it, but we need community mentors. And the other one will be, especially during the second half of this year, we're looking for speakers to come into classrooms for upperclassmen as they do some job exploration in the afternoons, while other students might be doing Oveus. We're trying to do career exploration for older students during that time. So anyone who's interested in volunteering, please let me know.
Can you tell us, or tell the community, for people to be mentors, do they just contact you? What's the procedure?
For people to be mentors, particularly the after-school program, they would contact me, and we're working with the Southwestern PA Mentoring Partnership, and they're going to provide us with training at Carnegie Elementary School when we have a large enough group put together. It's a 2-hour training. And the requirement, the largest requirement will be getting clearances for those people who are going to do ongoing mentorship. But we can do everything really locally to make it as convenient as possible.
Great. Thank you very much.
And we also have with us tonight our cafeteria supervisor, Tina Mitchell. Ms. Mitchell, do you want to talk about some of the new school lunch requirements and nutritional requirements?
Sure. I have a handout, if it's okay for me to give it to you.
If you would, please, thank you.
Just some information on the regulations, and there's a little flyer there.
Thank you.
So far, as you all know, there's some new regulations based on the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act that we did talk about before in past meetings. What I've given you is just some questions and answers that you might have, and it gives you some information about the specifics of what's happening in school lunch programs. And as of now, we are compliant. Aramark's dietitians were able to create menus for all of Aramark accounts that meet these guidelines, and we're currently using those menus. Some of the things we've seen so far are the counts are kind of down. The lunch counts are down from last year at this time. And there are healthier items. There are a lot more whole grains. There are more fruits and vegetables, different types of vegetables. So we were expecting it to be a slight decrease. But we're hoping that as time goes along, kids will try the different items and sort of get on board. Also at the high school, as you know, there's a lot of renovations that happened here. And I think the first couple of days of school, it was a little bit chaotic because kids didn't know where to go or what they should do, and a lot of kids just sat down and didn't even bother getting in the line. So I'm hoping the next couple of weeks we'll see a pickup with that, and an update on that. On the 13th of September, we're supposed to be getting our real equipment in that we ordered. And at that point, the lines should be moving a lot smoother because we're gonna have all the pieces that we actually ordered and that we're hoping to use. And that, I think, is...
And to just kind of put this in perspective
Yes.
for folks, you only recall that the board had approved something in the range of $250,000 worth of renovations to the serving lines and the cafeteria area generally. There was a problem with some of the equipment, the sheet metal.
Some machine broke that
something.
builds the equipment.
Right. And as a result, we weren't ready at the beginning of the year. But what you're saying is all the new serving tables, equipment and whatnot by the 13th.
Yeah,
We have temporary things in place.
yeah,
here.
they've given us some things that we could use.
Right.
They're not ideal because they're not what we actually wanted. So it's hard for us to fit the certain things
But
on the
we're still
serving line.
functioning, kids are getting
Yeah,
food.
kids are
I
getting
mean,
food, kids are coming through
would
the
you
line.
attribute the drop in count to that
I
equipment?
think
or is
it's
it
a
more
mixture.
just?
I think it's a mixture of both, the fact that the new equipment and the kids are kind of confused,
Right.
and the fact that there's some new products on the menu as well that they may or may
But
not.
anybody coming up to the line and saying, I want some food,
Right.
we got food.
They can get, yeah, we definitely
Okay,
have
that's
food.
just-
I think a lot of the
It's
kids
just
are.
a healthier version.
Yeah,
That's
they're
right.
scared. They're a little scared of like the new menu
Oh,
items that
what's
we
that?
have.
Vegetable.
So they'll just like go to the chicken patty, you know, but the pizza line is really booming. We got.
Yeah, because we got a new pizza
We got a new
oven,
pincher
right?
oven, like the real fancy ones that you see
Yeah.
in the pizza shops. And even though we have whole grain pizza dough, don't tell anybody. It's good.
You can't tell.
So it's still coming out good, and it
Okay.
actually looks a lot better than it did last year with the deck ovens we had. So,
But
that's
other
good.
school districts are also experiencing a decline.
Sure.
And they're contributing it largely to these changes. So
Yeah,
we
there's-
are not the only district with.
Yeah, I heard they're boycotting the lunches at
Yeah.
Plum, Upper St. Clair, because they just changed so drastically. But luckily, we have had some of these things implemented in the past years, so it's not like really drastic change. Like we had all the whole grain stuff last year, we had the vegetables last year, we had the milk that we're supposed to have last year. So it's not that different for them, but there are some things.
Can I ask a question, David?
Sure.
I guess that I had somewhat of a misunderstanding whenever we first went through this proposed kitchen renovation. And when I saw it recently, and I don't know if it's changed, but there's no way to secure the kitchen, so to speak.
You're correct. The
Yes,
actual.
I thought there was going to be a way to secure the kitchen.
Well, we had originally threw the idea around of having to pull down like garage.
Right, that was
door
my
thing.
last recollection. So
Yeah.
what happened to that?
Well, we decided that if we just lock all of the doors to the cafeteria, no one can get in, and that's how it's been for the school
So
year.
the cafeteria
Yeah,
would
so
be
the
off
cafeteria
limits
itself
except
is-
during lunchtime?
Right,
Is that what you're saying?
yeah.
Okay.
Then they've been doing it, the custodians have been on top of that. In the past, they left it wide open, and the doors would usually be open anyway during the day, so it wasn't really secure with doors.
Now, let me just ask this question,
Mhm.
because I know that whenever I was part of the basketball booster organization,
Yeah.
we had, and I'm sure other organizations have used it as well, with the cafeteria, so to speak,
yeah.
for banquets.
Yeah.
Do you foresee any issues with continuing to use that for that purpose, being that there is no secure,
Well, the security
no
is.
segregation of that area from the kitchen?
The security isn't an issue that I would see, because when we leave at the end of the day, everything is
No,
locked
I just
up.
mean
Yeah.
concerning banquets like and so forth, if
Mhm.
boosters still want to hold organizations with it, or
Yeah.
banquets within the cafeteria itself.
I mean-
that wouldn't be off limits because of
No.
the situation with the kitchen.
No, as long
And
as
you
they
wouldn't
don't
see
mind
any
looking
issues?
at the kitchen,
Yes.
then they can still use it
Okay.
for that, yeah. 'cause
So
it's
that
just gonna
in
be
the
open.
end, as David spoke about the amount of money we were looking to spend, being that
Right.
we didn't spend that, there will be some funds left over, being that we didn't take it the whole 10 yards, so to speak, with isolating the kitchen
With
from
the
the
doors.
cafeteria.
Well, the last number I heard was 215,000.
And I don't remember what the.
Yeah, it's still right around where we were.
And I think that's
originally
less from what I was hearing,
It was-
maybe
it's-
reflecting the fact that.
It's a
this
little
is
bit
that-
less,
wasn't
yeah,
bad.
but it's not significant for the doors, but it is a little bit less for that. And we can
But you're
always,
satisfied with the arrangement as it stands?
not right now.
No,
But,
I mean,
yeah.
once you get the new equipment in
Yeah.
on 13.
Yeah, well, I don't know what that's gonna look like, but I do hope.
Well, we were
it's-
told what it would look like.
Yeah, we'll see.
And
when
that
it's
was gonna
set up.
suit your needs, so hopefully
Yes,
it does work
so
out.
I'm planning that it will, but as of right now, I don't like the equipment that they have there, but
I know.
I do think that it will be a lot better when that stuff comes in on the
Thank you.
13th. Yeah.
Other questions?
Was there another
I'm wondering
question?
if, if we had the ability to close off the kitchen area, if that would open up that cafeteria space for other uses instead of just locking the whole thing up.
I know I'm not convinced that it still isn't a good idea. But I'd like to hear from others who
Yeah,
said,
that's, I mean,
attract-
it's
I'm looking at it
possible.
from the point of security, so
Yeah.
that, you know, things
No,
are.
I mean, I'd look at the administration as their use for that space. They could come up with for.
and I
don't
think
know.
aesthetically too, if you're having an event in there, I mean, who wants to be, I mean, the kitchen's all nice and all, but I mean, who wants to be staring into that if you're having some nicer event going on there? So
What
we use
is
it
the
to tie to the arts, right?
Percentage didn't change.
Yeah, tied to the arts.
I
I don't know, that's why I was asking, because I looked for the dividing wall with the garage doors, and it never went up.
That's okay.
And I wasn't aware that it wasn't going up.
Maybe we could ask our superintendent if he could report to us at the next meeting what's happening. And I certainly would like to know if it's something we want to still go forward with, what will it cost going to be if we were to go forward with it. Not that we're obligating ourselves to it, but let's just have an understanding, because it is what we talked about originally.
That's a good point, because tied to the arts is.
Tied to yours. And after the plays and the musicals, they always have the
That's always
refreshments
the
set up
refreshments.
there.
That's right, too.
Yeah. So whether it's incorporated into it, you know, it may be part of it with the refreshments, I'm not sure.
No, it seems to me,
Right,
I
as
remember
long as
we've
we
had.
can still do those things.
No, absolutely.
I think there's a question, and that's what we can look into.
Yeah.
I was wondering also, you said it's gonna be in on the 13th,
Correct,
and we have no school on the
correct. So they're
So they're
going
gonna
to
do that
start
while we
installing it between the 13th and the weekend, and it should be ready to go on Monday when the kids come
14th. So
back.
they were pretty assured.
Yes, they did.
Will the cafeteria be used for the, during the in-service? Is that on the 14th?
Yeah.
If it is that, can they still install it while it's being?
They can, yeah, they're coming, I told them to come at 8 o'clock, we usually serve breakfast.
Coffee and donuts is 7:30 to 8.
Yeah.
But so there aren't, my only concern is guys are in there with bulking hammers or whatever they're gonna use,
It's
you know,
not
trying to
gonna
get
be
the.
Well, after they're gonna come after we're done cooking, and we don't actually use the serving lines for the teachers, we set up tables out in the cafeteria, so they won't really be interfering with that. Yeah.
Right.
This is right outside the cafeteria, but I noticed when I went in and looked that the picnic tables were not set up for the outside
Senior area.
picnic tables. Is that something we're gonna?
I have to bring that to Mr. Ricci's attention. It's been talked about already. We'll get it out. We'll get it
Someone
out.
said campaign moved them
They
over the
may
fence,
have.
but normally they were, I mean, I would assume the seniors should be.
I think they were
eat 'em.
stored for the summer.
Right.
If we could get them back out there for the seniors, I think the board would
Let's
appreciate
use
that. Thank you. Other questions?
One other follow-up. I think I remember one of the conversation points on the renovation would be that you'd hope to improve the flow of the
Yeah.
cafeteria and improve throughput, that maybe some kids weren't having as much time to eat as they had hoped. I don't know if you have a benchmark of before it was taking, the fastest a kid would get through was 2 minutes and the longest. Do you have a rough benchmark of before, then at what point do we measure?
Well, right now, at this point, I wouldn't say that we're moving a lot faster. There are some things like dividers that we're expecting to get with the new equipment that we don't have right now. So that is causing some confusion as to where the line is and where it starts and ends.
So maybe in
But-
October.
Yeah, once I get the new stuff in, I'll be able to see if it's improving. But right now, we're probably on the same, it takes about 15 to 17 minutes to get them all through.
So if a kid has a 30-minute lunch period, they got about 10 minutes to eat. So
Yeah,
so maybe in October, we can have a.
Let's see how it is.
see how it goes, yeah, definitely.
Other questions? Anyone else? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it. Any other administrative reports? We don't have committee reports, but Mr. Okoviak asked if he could present for Parkway.
Just briefly, we had a meeting on Tuesday at Parkway, and just one item to bring up. The new program at Parkway is robotics and precision machining. Initially, we decided in the spring to move forward with the program, even though I believe at the time there were 5 enrollees. Now we have 11, 4 in the morning and 7 in the afternoon, and there are several more that are potential signups. So I believe the word is getting around. The goal is also to bring this program to each of the schools sometime in the fall, provide presentations on site. And the one thing that this sort of segues into is there were several articles that I ran into recently, and it's concerning the jobs that are available in these fields, the lack of personnel in this type of field and the need and the growing need that there is, especially where with the Marcellus Shale impact, especially regionally. And just one of the things I wanted to read briefly is that there's a relatively new field which is called mechatronics. Mechatronics is a combination of mechanics, electrical, and electronics, and these are all the same items or fields that are touched on within the robotic precision machining program, which is truly a 4-year program at Parkway. And this field is somewhat new. It's being addressed by many of the local universities. In fact, CCAC, through a federal grant, is actually running a similar program that's available for candidates in an associate degree program for anybody who is a high school graduate and is also looking for some type of new skill certification. So this field is something that continues to grow. Even though the numbers aren't high, the feeling at Parkway is that once it does catch on, this will be somewhat akin to the welding program that they started many years ago. And it's a very successful program presently. And that this program will grow and provide students with opportunities either to take on positions within the Marcellus Shale arena on graduation, or possibly with some post-secondary education. So it is a growing field. It's a field that's coming back, and it's a field that's coming back as a blended field that really is a combination of several skill areas. So look forward to increasing numbers in the program and a lot of success. I'm glad they stuck with it, and we're starting to see the numbers bump up.
Any questions for Director Goldie? Thank you. Any other directors would like to speak to their committees right now? We can wait until the next one. We'll move on then to business before the board. First item under miscellaneous. We have actually 2 items under miscellaneous. Let's do them one at a time. You see first a motion to approve the following conference and field trip requests. I'll entertain a motion to approve that.
So moved.
It has been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? There being none, we will vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions, the motion carries. Number 2 is a motion to approve a Southwest Ballet proposal to offer an after-school dance and fitness enrichment program at the elementary level for students at no cost is submitted. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
There is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I'm wondering, from what I read, they need a space. They're asking for a space up here, or either in one of the elementary schools.
I think they were looking at to use some gym facilities or like a all-purpose room. Yeah.
And how does this facility used as?
Well, I think it would depend on, first of all, it would depend on the percentage of resident versus non-resident use. If
And I
it is,
think it would fall under athletic related, wouldn't it?
well, one would think, but
I mean, we have to
No,
work
it
it
is an
out.
Olympic sport.
Hmm?
It is an Olympic sport, is it not?
well, it's,
Ballet?
No, I just.
But they're not a club. Their business is looking to run dance classes from our facility to be more convenient for the people in the community.
Right, but.
So I don't know if they have the 85% until they know who's signing up.
Right, but we, in terms of how we treat them, we could either treat them as a non-athletic organization or an athletic organization. I'm thinking we have to treat them as an athletic-related organization since it is dance.
Well, what our solicitor recommends is that we treat them this way.
Well, actually, because they're a business, I would think they would be non-athletic.
You think they're non-athletic? Okay. So
And that's not to say whether ballet is an athletic sport or not. It's just to say, based on the policy, that it's not a club sport.
Right, they're not affiliated with the AAU.
Right, so they would not then be subject to the $50 per non-resident fee with an 85%.
well, I think even if, well, that's, yes, because that's specifically,
But per current policy, they would
They're-
not
What it
be-
may just be is the rental for that space.
Right, and so that's something to, you know.
now, I had some, as I read it, am I missing something? Because it sounds, I the way it's written, it sounds like they're doing this not for profit, which I don't understand that to be the case. They say that there would be a registration fee,
It's a very low fee structure.
very low fee, and that would all be given to the PTO. So I guess I want to have some more information, frankly.
No, the $10 registration fee would be the class costs.
Where?
On the third page.
Oh, I see down below, oh, no, I'm sorry.
It's an
Down below.
opportunity for our students who might not be able to afford this type of thing on their own,
No, it's really reasonable.
to be able to experience it, so I think that's a good thing.
One of the questions I had is, could this in some way, and maybe this is my first, could answer this, would something like this fit in with the 21st Century Community Center grant?
We could certainly fit it in at that 4:30 to 5:30 enrichment time if the company was agreeing with that.
Yeah, this is 3:30 to 5.
Well, has JCC this?
This is correct.
Okay.
All right, and
Well, wait.
it's for both.
Yeah.
It's
It is
for
for
both
both.
elementaries.
I
Good
mean,
idea.
I'm willing to discuss it, but I really would like the elementary principals
Yeah.
to understand it and bring it, to make sure they're okay, because it.
Their buildings.
And I
Maybe
echo
a
that. I mean,
conflict maybe with the, is 21st Century 4 days a week? So you already have a group of kids at both schools?
Carnegie, Monday through Thursday.
So we won't, like you say, maybe the fitness part of this could tie in, but then at Crafton, is there anything after school?
We'll also start our after-school program that's funded through the Accountability Block Grant,
And what days of the week are those?
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
I guess the question is this something that we want to investigate further?
I certainly think it warrants investigation.
Right.
I mean, I will tell you, I will ask for a motion to table this eventually, but I don't think, I'm certainly not ready to approve
And
that.
and I think if our high school principals have to see it, I think it's fair to allow them to at least take a look at this and see the times, see the spaces that are being requested, so, knowing that what the schedule of the building is, whether or not this can work for them.
You know?
I think it's an urgency that we should.
Oh, yeah.
You would also have to follow your facilities use policy, as you
Right.
said, so, when you're looking at it, you may advise the
Well-
ballet company that we may not have a lot of interest because we have other activities going on, but, depending on what your policy says, you only follow the policy just on the use of a request for use of the facility.
I think that the one thing that I didn't see in here is, maybe it is, I will see the number, a limited number for the space that they're requesting. Whether it's 20, 30, 40,
I'm writing down questions myself. How much space? How often? Are there conflicts with
It's
the
2
current
days, is
usage?
what they're asking for.
There's
Well,
also,
how many? Yeah.
Southwest
There's a lot of
is,
questions.
Southwest Ballet has a presence in Carnegie. And I would be cautious that I know of a dance school in Crafton that does a pretty nice job, so. I mean,
Couple.
that would not be fair to them.
Well, and we were talking previously about our facilities policy. You'll recall that we did present changes to that policy at the last meeting. We need to wait 30 days before we act on it. But with the change in the language from more to less, that is that you'll either pay the rental fee or you'll pay this $50 or some of it, $50 for right now, whatever the lesser is. With a determination from our solicitor that this would not be athletic. I mean, really, we're just looking at the rooms. You want rooms, you want to rent rooms? We're really saying anybody can do that.
Right.
And if it's an organization like this, we see some benefit to our kids, I think we all can embrace that, see benefit to that, but my concern is, how's this going to impact us? We don't want it to adversely impact us, we want it to positively impact us, so let's just get that understanding.
But there was also a separate issue. I mean, she was asking about using the facilities, but she was also asking permission to distribute information from the school district about Southwest Ballet itself, the one based in Carnegie. And Emma went to the school before the flood and had a great experience. But that's a separate issue that we need to consider is, are we going to allow any
outside entity to advertise within our school districts, what are the pros, what are the cons. So within her request, there are 2 requests. So I guess we're deciding to investigate this one
Sure.
request using
Yeah.
facilities, but what about that second request about just distributing?
And my thought, just generally speaking on that, just as you bring it up, if it's for an event or for an activity that is on school grounds, I would think, I'm very comfortable advertising it. If it is for some other event, somebody's doing some, I don't know, outside, it's doing the same thing but in an outside location, off school grounds, is it appropriate then? I think there's clearly discussion that needs to be held.
Well, that too is something that you should have a consistent policy.
Agreed.
And then you would need to consistently implement that policy on who you do and who you do not.
Is it appropriate though to recognize that if something's done on school
Yes,
grounds,
you
we
can
get one treatment?
you can
and if it's off school
differentiate
grounds-
groups of,
Right.
organizations. If they profit or nonprofit, if they benefit, if they involve our children, if they are not in our community, you can differentiate. But then as you differentiate, you have to treat those groups the same.
But the people within each group.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
So that's something that I think this is gonna, we need to at least start discussions on so we can formulate some sort of response.
Well, what do we need then in terms of information to be able to make a decision?
Well, I think we owe it to our building administrators to allow them to see what's being requested, the times that it's being requested, so that they can review this and see if they have any additional questions in addition to what we just went.
I think that's and it's the elementary schools, correct?
Right.
2 elementary schools.
Yes.
And one thing that I just wanted to double check with this lifeguard is to see if there is a gap in the 21st century community learning center aspect for the physical education part. Would something like this be helpful to fill that void? And if so, if not this iteration of it, is there something we can negotiate with Southwest Ballet or maybe some other school? I mean, this is potentially a usable opportunity. So that's another question.
Dr. Myford, is this something you could speak with certainly Mr. Pfeiffer will as well, as a building principal with your colleague in Carnegie, and then come back and tell the board what you guys, would that be appropriate?
I think so. I think we could arrange a meeting between Dr. Maslick and Mrs. Hudson and Dance, and then we can go from there.
Okay, well, we'll look forward to hearing from you guys. That being the case, I'll entertain a motion to table the motion that's on the floor right now to approve a proposed offer they have. Is there such a motion to table? It has been moved. Dr. Wachovia. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
There's no discussion on the motion to table.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Motion carries. Nice. We'll move on to finance. You can see that there are 5 items. Number 1, approval of the treasurer's report for the month of July 2012. Number 2, approval of July 2012 bills in the amount of $1,480,413.61. Number 3, the Roslyn Farms Earned Income Tax Audit Report for the period ending June 30th, 2011. Number 4, the September 2012 real estate tax refunds for the Borough of Carnegie. And number 5, Lauren Luft as behavior. Now, should this be under finance? Number 5, is that right? Oh, okay. Lauren Luft as behavior specialist consultant at Carnegie Elementary for the 2012-2013 school year at an hourly rate of $35 an hour, not to exceed 25 hours. Is there such a motion for those 5 items?
So moved.
Has been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Please identify the item by its number that you wish to discuss.
Number 2.
Yes.
This
July
may be-
2012 bills.
Yes. This may be something better suited to new business. But I was going over the bills and I'm looking at security monitoring with Sonatrol of Pittsburgh. And I'm wondering, what do we pay yearly for security system services to Sonatrol? Is it adequate based on
some recent events here. Cruel and AD's office. And I'd like to know, and this is something we'll talk about next meeting.
The second meeting this evening. Kirby, not to put you on the spot, but would you happen to know offhand, or Mr. Pfeiffer, what the, okay.
But is this a monthly bill, Kirby, like $1,300, $1,400 approximately, or is this something paid?
My memory is we receive monthly bills. I can't say whether this is 1 month or a combination of several months.
Further questions?
So we'll talk about it.
Kirby, if you wouldn't mind, if you could just maybe sense that Kirby could provide you something, Mr. Pfeiffer, get it out to the board, would that suffice?
Yes, even to understand if it's a flat rate fee or if it's an
Yeah,
incident.
what do we pay? What do we pay for the service, basically?
The health structure.
I haven't noted that. I'll look into it
Thank you.
tomorrow.
Thank you. Further discussion on the motion? There being no further discussion, we will vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstention? The motion carries. Under personnel, we have 9 items. I'm going to go 1 through 4, and then we'll go 5 through 9. Number 1 is approval of the addition to 2012-2013 day-to-day sublist. Number 2, approval of a variety of additional athletic supplementals.
Should I read those?
Yes, if you would read them. The last one, we are not going to approve at this time. We were, if you recall, we asked for additional information. So if you would.
I want to recognize.
Yes, I think you should.
Tim Bonner, varsity girls head coach and junior high 8th grade basketball coach.
Wait, no, excuse me. Varsity girls head coach?
Yes.
Is that? That's correct. That's right.
No,
I'm sorry.
That's
right.
the same thing that's listed on
Yes,
the
yes.
sheet. As well as 8th grade junior high basketball
Yes.
coach.
I
For the
apologize.
girls.
Yes.
Okay. David Kosnick, girls junior high 7th grade basketball coach. Nicholas Militzer, volunteer football filming. Catherine Zinski, volunteer girls soccer assistant. Assistant athletic director. Could I have a name, please?
Anne-Marie Bunch.
Anne-Marie Bunch, assistant athletic director. Nate Wilson, equipment manager. David Zinski resigning as head junior high boys soccer coach, being instated as the girls head varsity coach for soccer. Daniel Zinski resigning as the assistant junior high boys soccer coach, being instated as the varsity assistant girls soccer coach. David Didola, junior high head wrestling coach. Jesse Valentine, varsity head wrestling coach.
And we've asked some additional information for all.
Jesse's here. Thank you. I wanted to recognize that you were here. I saw you come in. And I want to also recognize the rest of the coaches. We appreciate the efforts, the dedication to the students. And I want to make sure they're all recognized.
Before we go any further, we do have a motion. Is there a second? Second. Moved and seconded. All right. Any further discussion? Did you take it off?
No.
Anything else you'd like to ask?
The last name on the list, because it isn't called out.
We've asked that there accompany this name at the next meeting, a recommendation from the.
Do we need to alter or amend this motion as currently stands?
The motion that is, we are voting on is the one that has been read.
Read out.
But the last one, the last item hasn't been struck.
Okay.
But, thank you.
It was not.
Absolutely. Further discussion on the motion? There being none, we will vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Motion passes. And we've actually just voted on, so we've gone through 1 and 2. We'll move on to number 3, the affiliation agreement with the University of Pittsburgh for the placement of student interns and student teaching experiences for the 2012-2013 year, and postings for the positions of, number 4, the positions of 2 instructional aides, one for kindergarten at Carnegie, the other for Grafton Elementary, and then for the test coordinator / data coach / curriculum supervisor, one position, a secondary math teacher, another position, and a home and school visitor, third position. That's it for a total of 5. So for items 3 and 4, we have a motion. Is there such a motion for those 2 items?
So moved.
Has been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on those two items?
Yes, just to call out a point that was made earlier by President Koliak about the increase in cost to the district and financial impact. It is a somewhat significant hit in terms of having to pay yearly salaries, but for my part, these are positions that we've needed for some time. And I think we are noticing some of the impacts for lack of these. And although it is not an insignificant amount of money, I think it's something that will pay off for our kids in the long run. And so, you know, in case the taxpayers are wondering why this, why now, this is really something that is, for my own personal opinion, a long time coming and overdue. And I'm hopeful that these additional supports, people will see the benefit, our students will see the benefits, our kids will be the better for it. And our district will be the better for it.
Point well taken. I think we've all learned from what we've gone through, but the attempt by some in Rosswood Farms to secede from this district, that test scores are important for a variety of reasons. We also know that the state is changing the way they're going to test our kids and measure our kids, and with that change have left many districts, have left all districts kind of scurrying to prepare our students. And we're very fortunate with Mr. Pfeiffer having a rich history in this area to lead us into doing the things we need to do with our staff and to be better prepared. So beyond the here and now, going forward, Dr. Sheldon very eloquently put it, this is all about the kids and testing our kids. So I share your feelings about it. Other discussion?
I know number 4. I'm just curious, and maybe you can help me, Jason. How many additional kindergarten members do we have registered since the beginning, the last meeting at the beginning of the school year?
I want to say, because I just got a call today, I think we're up to 69, just at Carnegie.
69 at Carnegie.
I think so. We're going to have one coming in.
49, so that's an increase of how many since the beginning?
3 since our last meeting.
Okay, right. And then
3 at Craft.
3 at Craft.
Another couple of
And that seems to be, we've got people after Labor Day who are enrolling.
Right. So it might not be done.
It might not be.
Word's getting out about Carlynton.
Yeah.
Scurrying up.
I had a question also on number 3. I was wondering if the misinserted district name had been corrected in the beginning. Where it says Norwood School District.
Let me say that the motion was made to approve the affiliation agreement with that correction having been made.
So it has been corrected.
It has been corrected, yes.
And heard back, so I'm just wondering.
Further discussion? Mr.
Just
Shelton.
to piggyback on Director Shell's comment, I think it's a significant point to note that the district is stepping up and approving the posting of 5 positions to cover a variety of needs in a very wide set of areas. You feel it's a catch-up in some ways, but it's definitely putting the kids first. I think it's maybe a double-edged sword for me. There's a celebration of the fact that we're able to do that and we're making a commitment to do it. But we also then need to be diligent moving forward because that is a significant cost to us. So it's two sides to that coin, Ron.
And this district has done a very good job managing its finances. We are a smaller district. A mill brings in less than $1 million. And if you look at the 40 some odd districts in Allegheny County, about half of them bring in more than $1 million or more for a mill. About half bring in less. We bring in Kirby somewhere in the range of $540,000,
$550,000. Something like that.
And I will tell you, of all the districts in Allegheny County that bring in $1 million or less, we have the lowest or the second lowest, I forget right now, millage rate of all those districts. So we are doing a very good job, I think, for a district our size, managing our finances. We've built up a nice fund balance. We'll be able to use that to renovate the schools, So certainly we're not looking to raise mills, but we got to do what we got to do, and we've got a great track record, I think. So I applaud this board. Done a great job at this time. Any further discussion on these items? There being none, we will vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Motion carries. Michelle, by the way, these are the 5 items here that we need. Items 5 to 9 under personnel are approval of following addition to the 2012-2013 activity supplemental list. It's Rachel Foltz as sophomore class sponsor. Number 6, reassignment of Jeanette Stansky to a 4-hour food service worker position at the high school cafeteria. Number 7, the SAT prep course for the fall and spring semesters, and to post for the 2 respective positions in math and English as presented. Number 8, following individuals for after-school individual assignments for 21st Century Learning Community Program as follows. Anna Osman, Pamela Stone, Cynthia Bevan, Doris Parson, and Rachel Foltz, Bethany Martys, and Julie Lewis. Number 9, following individuals for after-school aid assignments for the 21st Century Learning Community Program: Denise Kazina, Linda Driscoll, and Renee Taylor, Lorraine Beck. So with that, is there a motion to approve those 5 items?
So moved.
Has been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion on these 5 items? Yes, sir.
I have a question. Do we know the date yet for the SAT prep class?
We have, I don't know. I mean, do we, Mr. Coase, you've taught the math in the past. Is there dates now?
Dr. Sassini emailed me some proposed dates, asked me to look over them, along with the English instructor who's been doing it the last year. They look pretty good.
So we have some time. Dr. Sassini, we have some dates.
We're looking at the first meeting would be October 6th. So we'll be trying to sign students up immediately.
And to refresh people's memories, how many classes are there typically?
7.
7. So 7 once a week, starting on the 6th?
Correct.
So they'd be ready to test some more.
The idea is to have 7 consecutive Saturdays leading up to the SAT date in the first Saturday in December, trying to observe Thanksgiving, and then in the spring having it lead up to the SAT date that we offer here at Carlynton the first Saturday in May. If it's okay, last year in the fall there was some issue about the number of kids, should we continue to run it even though we had very small numbers in the fall. And I think we ended up with only 3 students in the fall. I don't know if the board wants to have a discussion about, to sort of head that off. If we only have X number of students, you have to have at least this many students to run the course, and maybe have that in an advertisement. Or if you want to run it, even if there's only 1 kid, it's up to you.
I appreciate you bringing that.
Something to think about now.
I say let's have it. Let's do the best we can to fill it up. If we keep running into low enrollments in the fall, maybe we talk about it afterwards, but.
What time do the classes typically begin?
They are from 10 to 12 on Saturday mornings.
And you have a fall and then a spring.
Right, and
Typically-
when I speak at open house to parents, when I talk to kids in the classroom, if a kid is a junior, I do not recommend that they take it in the fall. I would recommend they take it in the spring, leading up to that date that we offer.
The fall classes, you recommend seniors take that?
Yes, and to tell you, there's not usually many seniors, because if you're a senior taking the SAT, you ought to be doing that right now in October.
So who would be taking it in the fall if it's not juniors and seniors? Sophomores?
Which is why I kind of brought that up. What's
Should
that?
we be- What's your recommendation? Should
My
we-
recommendation, we would offer this once a year in the spring. We offer the SAT here at Carlynton once a year. Seems to make sense that we would run a course that would be concurrent to that. We have had some students take it in the fall, so I don't want to shut them out. I just thought you guys ought
Dr.
to
Sassini,
think
what's
about
your-
that now.
What's your thoughts on this?
Well, I think last year was the first time we ran into the numbers being as low as they were in the fall. I think previous years, and I think in the spring we had a significant number of students, more so than we've had in past years in the spring. So I couldn't tell you if it was one of those years, but I think what we could do is start immediately trying to sign students up, and then we can give you a progress update on the next board meeting on the 20th.
Okay.
And then you can determine if you want to.
And then perhaps with, considering Mr. Cozy's thoughts and Dr. Cicini's, the next meeting we can talk about what we want to do in the fall. What does the board think?
I just don't want to get into a situation
No.
last year where
Yes.
it was a Thursday board meeting and the class was going to start in 2
Yes.
days, and we still weren't sure whether we're running the
We'll make a
course,
decision
and it was
next
awkward.
meeting.
Thank-
Were there any students that, the 3 students that took it in the fall, did any of them repeat in the spring? Do you recall?
No.
No.
One was sophomore, one was a junior, one was a senior. The senior was trying to get it in so she could prepare for the December date.
So you feel the best preparation for a junior would be to wait till that second session?
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt, because of the coverage of what they'll have.
Get your entire,
Subject matter.
get all the math that you can get throughout your junior year, whatever course you're in. Sit for it at Carlynton in that May date where you're in a familiar setting, comfortable. To me, that's the best thing for a junior.
Is there ever a situation, or how often does it happen that a student, for whatever reason, needs to take the SAT in the fall? And if we don't offer it to that student in the fall, what then happens, even if it's one student, what then would happen to that one student?
It's a fair point. I mean, if a student is concerned about a fall or a spring sport they play, or the musical or other conflicts, and they really want to take it in the fall, I'm not sure how often that's happened, but it is a fair point. That's why I thought if only 2 kids signed up for the fall, because I'm standing there in classes talking to juniors saying, hey, I think the best thing for you to do is take it in the spring, and only 2 kids show up, is the board still going to run it for 2 kids? And if your answer is yes, that's great, I'll teach it. And I just want you to be aware of it now so you make a decision.
And there are other classes. I mean, if someone wants to take it in the fall, they can go to other prep courses.
It's true.
It's a little bit more expensive, yes.
Yes.
I think.
No doubt about
Just to put all the options out there.
Oh, no, absolutely, absolutely.
But I think part of the SATs, and I believe I've encouraged my children to take it more than once. The test itself is something you need to get a handle on. So it doesn't hurt to take it in December and then take it again.
What I tell students, that my recommendation would be, go sit for the test in January without taking the course, get the experience, feel all the pressures of the SAT, then come take the SAT prep class in the spring, and then sit for it a second time at Carlynton in your comfort zone, having sat for it with the experience, having studied for it through the course, and that time you'll nail it. You need to take it a 3rd time in the beginning of your senior year. 3 times should be the maximum you should take it. I think there's issues if you take it more than 3 in terms of how it's reported to colleges.
Would there be a class range that works best, in your opinion, for the number of students within the program?
We had maybe 40 or so in the spring, maybe 43 who were registered. And that was an excellent number because we would split that in half. And 20 or so would be doing an hour of math, and 20 would be doing an hour of English, and then we would switch the hours. That's how we run the course. And 20 in a class is just fine. So that was a pretty good number.
It was good. If we didn't have the numbers, and I don't know, we probably haven't done this, have we ever opened this up to students outside the school district to fill the seats?
It's always open up to students
we can
outside.
do that
I don't know how much it's advertised, but we usually get a student or 2 from Canevin, Olsh, even,
Exactly.
I think there was a student from Upper St. Clair last year.
Okay.
Further questions? We have a motion on the floor for items 5 through 9. If there's no other discussion, we will vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Motion is approved. With that, we'll move on to unfinished business. Is there any unfinished? Yes.
I have 2 items. We just approved tonight releasing 2 coaches from junior high soccer and putting them in as our girls soccer. What's happening with our junior high coach, which does have, or our junior high team, which does have games scheduled in the very near future.
They won 2-1.
They lost 2-1.
They won.
I saw Mr. Dodola. Is he the one who, maybe it was a different game?
Yes, no, sorry.
Okay. But they played today.
They played.
Agreed.
I believe they go.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah, I have to consult with our list, but I think we have.
We approved him last time when I was.
We approved him for wrestling.
Yeah, no.
We have, he's stepped up and he's coaching now. He needs to be, I think we've authorized him to be coaching.
So should we have approved it today?
Well, we need to have something come from our AD. And I guess what we would, I guess what we're asking is, Mr. Pfeiffer, if you would, if we could get some more names at the next meeting.
I think Ms. Herman has something she would like to say.
Dave is all ready to take the position, but contractually, when someone resigns, it has to be posted internally for 5 days.
Thank you.
So
That's
we
what
could
it is.
put him on until we post it inside and see if someone wants to take it.
Okay, just so they're covered.
Yes.
And then my second issue is, I'd like to hear, we only have one elementary principal, but it's been very hot. How is the heat and how's it being addressed?
It's warm. The days that it's getting a little toasty, we basically have options for those on the 3rd floor to move to other locations within the building. I know today a lot of them took advantage of that, either going to the computer lab, going down into the gym, after our cafeteria cleanup at lunchtime. That can be divided and a lot of kids can go in there.
Do you ever use the auditorium?
It's definitely an option, but that's not a cooler option.
I was just curious, because it is central to the building, I didn't know how cold it would be.
Yeah, it provides a big space, but it's
Right.
not very cool in
Not
there at all.
Yeah, not, no air movement.
Are the windows being opened early?
Oh,
and
yes. Yes.
So when you come in, it's a little bit cooler? Okay.
Yes, the windows are being opened early each morning, which does help. We also, I can't speak for Carnegie, but in Crafton, we're using the large floor fans that are used to dry the carpet. We have those up on top of the 3rd floor so that they're creating some kind of cross ventilation, so it seems to help a little bit.
Okay, thanks.
I've been in Carnegie almost every day since we started, and there were fans everywhere.
Well, and of course, after this meeting adjourns, we'll be convening a second meeting to begin the process of discussing how to help long-term these situations. Further discussion on this point, or other points?
Well, just to follow that, that, if we think through what we anticipate doing with the elementary schools, we have 2 buildings to work on, and it'll take a certain amount of time to do some planning and thoughtfully approach the building, and then we might approach them one at a time, and we'll do one and then perhaps a second building. So in theory, one of the elementary schools might be 5 years out until they have the problem resolved. So knowing that we've identified some problems and the temperatures are potentially in the high 80s in the school, and we have some good short-term remedial steps that we can take, I would like to ask maybe if Mr. Recchio can go back and we can take another look at options with a more creative lens. And just observation, if you look at the windows that we have, at least in Crafton, I don't know what Carnegie's windows are like, but if you have a normal 6-foot opening, it's only the bottom 18 inches, the bottom 18 inches that opens. So if the heat builds up during the day and then when we go home and then we shut those windows, you're locking in that heat, and only a small amount of it's dissipating during the evening. Even if we're down into the 50s or 60s at night, we're locking it in. So we come in at 6 a.m., we open them up. The amount of airflow you're getting through those very small windows is limited. And this is from a professional HVAC engineer, so I'm not. So I'm caveating my comments as being amateurish at best. But just in any of our homes, you recognize this dynamic. So if we can try alternative approaches, I think Ray brought forward some air conditioning ideas. We tabled those because of concerns about not having enough power capacity. One thought is if we're abandoning buildings at nighttime and we're not using electric lights and electric whatever else, is there enough capacity to run those air conditioners overnight? Maybe we cool the buildings at night.
Jim, you're exactly right, because was all predicated on a 30 M220 circuit. If our air handling units are not working, you can actually rent smaller units that you can run overnight. And you don't need to run during the day, or you run them at a lower power usage. So some cooling is better than none, I'm saying. If we are, somewhat limited by the power capacity.
So without speaking for the board, I would like to get the board to be a little more emphatic in its request or recommendation that we take a more creative, more aggressive approach to this, not looking to be foolish with any expenditures, but recognizing, regardless of what happened in the past, 5, 10, 20, 30 years ago, what we have is a situation today that many of us would consider intolerable. And I walk into either building and I see our professional teachers that are doing a phenomenal job with our kids, and I see them in a nice dress or a suit or a tie and a shirt, and they're drenched in sweat. And we sit in this beautifully air conditioning space, and I feel nice and comfortable. So I feel uncomfortable letting this continue. So
I think that what we should do in the next meeting, in addition to addressing the long-term needs, I don't think that we should just short-circuit the short-circuits. I think one way to approach it is to see what power capacity we have and see if we can find a foot that fits the shoe.
Absolutely.
So to speak.
Yeah, and thinking about that next meeting, I kind of envisioned that coming out of our discussion, one of a number of things, but one being a laundry list of some questions, requests for information. And then I would suggest that maybe this is one thing, one list. Another list might be to Mr. Recchio, what can we do in this next period of time, maybe up to 5 years? What are some ideas you have?
I believe there are either people from Tower that can help us, or people in the community that have some experience in this area who can advise us on practical.
Are we not opening up the windows at night? I had some impression that we were doing.
We are.
I think they're shut overnight.
Shut overnight.
Why would they not be open?
There's a security issue for being open.
On the third floor, we might be able to open them.
On the first floor, sure, but why
No,
would
but
we?
if it rains overnight and you have the windows open,
Yeah, we have a storm that blows.
It's only 19 inches at the bottom. I don't think it's gonna rain.
Carpeted walls.
Carpeted walls, so you get a mold
Well,
Right, and it's
maybe
under
we
the
could,
condition, it can be closed.
It's a good discussion to have.
yeah.
I mean,
Could
We're
it be-
almost
could it be
there.
cracked,
This
you
meeting's
know?
almost done.
Let's do it. Can we continue this in the next meeting?
Absolutely.
Okay, further unfinished business.
Yes, just a quick reminder, there's a September 12th deadline to select a voting delegate for the PSBA Legislative and Policy Council meeting on the 18th of October in Hershey.
Anybody going to Hershey on the 12th?
I'm not going to Hershey on the
I want
12th.
you to go to
Would you like to go to Hershey on the
I
12th?
cannot go to Hershey on the 12th?
It's not the 12th, it's the following.
Oh, the 8th, sorry, the 18th, sorry. Sorry.
Oh, well, you are in Hershey though.
I switched my numbers around, sorry. The deadline is September 12th.
That's
The meeting is the 18th of October.
And you need to be in Hershey to,
You need to be there at Hershey. And so if we're going to send somebody there as a voting delegate, we should have received absentee ballots at some point.
Yes, we
did.
But if we actually wanted to physically send somebody there, the deadline to do that is the 12th. And that's not something that we necessarily need to decide, but right now.
we need to decide today.
Sure to do it
For
at
the
the 12th.
When?
Sure, we'll have a meeting.
I had somebody who has gone. I just want to say what an incredible experience it is in multiple ways. But being the voting delegate allows you to sit in and to actually see what the districts are proposing. I would like to see PSBA work on this. I would like to see PSBA take a position about this. It's discussed and you get to have an actual vote. They give you cards and you hold up your yay or your nay. And so I personally, I would like to see somebody
Is there someone who
offered.
would is ready, willing, and would be able to be in Hershey on the 18th?
I can't do anybody.
Perhaps we can keep that in mind for the next one.
That's your absentee ballots.
Okay.
But I can't.
Okay. Well, thank you for bringing that. What other items?
Let's see, under unfinished business, I guess we're going to continue the discussions on policy 707, and Mr. Piper, if President Russo and if you could get together and look into a justification for the fees, what seems reasonable and fair to taxpayers, what seems reasonable and fair to the groups. Schedule that at some point. I think that would be helpful to the board.
Let's do that. Okay.
So we can email around like that. I was hoping to get an update from Mrs. Hudson on how the fourth grade's doing, but I guess it's a little early anyway. Received a little bit of feedback that it was a good thing, that the fourth grade had great. But just wanted to see more official statement on that. So I'll have unfinished.
Anything else under unfinished? Yes.
We talked last week, about the bike rack and crafting. Has there been any progress regarding talking to the insurance company or anything like that?
I'd have to ask John about that. I know he's been running around getting the facilities ready, with the windows of the buildings, getting the fields ready. So I will have to follow up with him.
Just to chat briefly about it, I would hope that there would be no obstacles in the way for something. I can appreciate that there might be things that we don't fully appreciate, whether it relates to insurance or whatnot. Kids ride their bicycles all over the place, and they want to ride to school. Although it does seem to me there had been discussions, and Betsy and Sharon, we would have been on the board, I think, together when, my recollection is when there might have been discussions about a bike rack, or there was one there that was removed. I think there were some issues. So my only hesitancy or caution is that I think there had been a discussion about it and a conscious decision either not to replace the one that was taken away or to take it away. But for the life of me, I can't think of a reason not to have it. So
well, if we look forward, everything was okay with the insurance. I think maybe in terms of protecting ourselves, if we do it sort of like a parking permit where we send something out to the interested families, please sign this contract. We are not liable if the bike is stolen or tires slashed or tires taken. You park at your own risk, essentially. I think something like that, maybe not as dire, but something like that.
There is even some mention about it in policy, about children riding their bicycles to school. So.
We want to, assuming that is going to happen in the background and anticipating maybe it will be blessed or okay for us to do, there will be no obstacles. Do we want to ask the principal if she would want to look at it from a logistics perspective and then come up with a recommendation?
How do you feel about it?
Anticipating.
Mrs. McMurdo and I had a conversation about it. She represented the sixth grade committee from last year, the ones that are gifting this to us. And we were kind of thinking of a location towards the front of the building that would, while we would not expect our teachers to monitor it all day, it would at least be in view of a couple different classrooms. Rather than putting it on the back end of the building where somebody might be more apt to try to take a bike or something like that.
And it was in the front where it had been previously.
So I mean, that was really all that we had discussed, was maybe the option of having it towards the front of the building by the kindergarten or first grade classrooms.
Other than concerns about insurance, I mean,
Well, the only question that I have is, rather than wait until the next meeting, could there be a follow-up directly with the PTA so that if there is a decision made as far as insurance, that at least they can be notified? I mean, I know we have to vote to accept, just so there's some communication that's made to them, because this is the second meeting you've come to now.
Third.
Well, that was earlier in summer, that third one. So maybe if we could just follow up in advance of the meeting so we know what's going to happen.
And I think what we're simply saying is, to the insurance company, we are considering putting a bike rack in place of one. Right. If we do it at Carlynton, they may want to do it at Carnegie High School.
Roads are different.
Sorry?
Roads are different.
Exactly.
Washington
exactly.
Avenue is
so
different.
we're just saying we're looking at maybe one or both elementary schools. Mr. Patrick, could you see if there's any objection, any issues that the insurance company would have to us doing that, and then we can talk about it at the next meeting and move forward. In fact, the sooner you could find out, and then maybe I think what you're suggesting is if you could let us know, the board know, and
I would say let the PTA know.
Let us all know.
Because they're sitting on pins and needles waiting for our decision.
Let us all know. Would that work for you guys?
That would be fine.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Further discussion on this? Anything else under unfinished business? There being nothing under unfinished business, we'll move to new business. I'd like to first start new business with a motion. I will preface the motion to say that all of our employees, our insurance is provided through the Allegheny County Schools Health Insurance Consortium. Recently, the consortium, which establishes premiums and various other aspects about the coverage, had for the standard PPO plan that all of our employees currently must be under, had put in a $400 annual deductible that had previously been no deductible. In discussions we've had with the Federation, we have developed a memorandum of understanding where, in essence, what we're going to do is allow employees the option of going either with the current PPO, standard PPO plan, or they could, if they chose to, go under the standard HMO plan where there is no deductible. So they would save money. The HMO plan is cheaper, so the district would save money as well. It's a win-win, and employees are not going to be forced to do this, they'll have that option. So the motion I am making is to approve signing entering into a memorandum of understanding with the Federation, which you've all received, and in relevant part, I'll read, states that the new language should state that for the duration of this contract, all employees will elect to be enrolled in either the Allegheny County Schools Health Insurance Consortium, ACS-HIC standard PPO plan, or the HCS-HIC standard HMO plan. Employees may switch between the standard PPO plan and standard HMO plan at any entry period as provided by the ACS-HIC. Is there such a motion to approve entering into this memorandum of understanding? There is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Again, this is no cost to us. It's win-win for everybody.
Just so we're clear, as
Yes,
far
sir.
as the entry enrollment, that occurs, is that one time?
No. Under the terms of the consortium, you can change during the year.
During the year?
You can.
Multiple times?
That is my understanding.
Retirees can.
Well, it's whatever the terms are, yeah. And this actually does not apply, this doesn't apply to the retirees. We had discussions with the Federation specifically about our current folks. Perhaps we should have talked about the retirees as well, but at this point, I think with contract negotiations coming up soon, we can certainly talk about that as well. But the crux of things really are focused on the current employees. Further discussion?
Could I just ask the bullet 4 here is the individual contribution rates for, I think I'm reading correctly, these are the contribution rates that a district employee will make toward the
Yes, which are part of the current contract. The changes are in red, but that's right. Employees are making contributions right now, which amount to I can't do that, $1,200 a year.
So if anyone else has insurance and you're paying your premiums or whatever, whether you're employer or private, these are very attractive numbers, so I would say regardless of.
Oh, it's a good
thing.
thing.
And that's not changing under the MOU. There's
Right.
nothing
Right.
different. That is contractual.
Very attractive.
Yes.
Program.
I'll give the public an opportunity to comment on this before we vote on it. Is there any comment anybody would like to make on this motion? There being none, I'll ask for any further comment from the board. There being no further comment, we will vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstention, the motion carries. Anything else under new business?
Yes, I just wanted to whisper in everybody's ear a reminder of the open campus, and it was called the Open Campus Initiative, is now law. The legislation specifies that cooperative agreements of open campus initiatives that cover things like policy, grading, credit, promotion, enrollment. And this is basically schools getting together and essentially sharing courses via distance learning. And I'm going to get the 3 names wrong. And it's been piloted by Penn Manor, Hempfield, and Manheim Township. And so there's information on that online. So when we talk about offering courses and when we talk about trying to compete and offering choice with brick and mortar charters and cyber charter schools, and when we talk about limitations of scheduling, can we do all that is humanly possible, and it's still not enough. Perhaps as we move forward and looking at different ways that this district is going to go, maybe something utilizing the law as it now currently stands, looking into this open campus initiative that outlines policy and grading and enrollment and promotion and credit and sharing of costs and attribution of student data. All of those things are outlined within the law. So maybe this is something to consider. With whom would we partner? I have no idea. This is just something for us to think about as we talk about the different issues that not just our district but other districts face in terms of offering programming and competing with not just cyber charters and charter schools, but this whole idea of choice and parental choice. And what can we do within the regular public school system? What can we do to help, I guess, feed that need for parental choice? What are some possibilities? And perhaps if we look into open campus and look within the legislation and see what the guidelines are and see what that is that something that would be fitting for our district? Just something to consider as we move forward.
I wanted to comment in my reading that I've been doing with just newspapers and some things online. It seems like most of the neighboring school districts either have gone with the AIU waterfront learning or have instituted their own online cyber school. It just seems like every time I read something, that's being offered now.
But the difficulty is that we have to have that internal technical capacity to do that, and we have to have the mindset around it that this is something that we can sustain. And so it's going to take not just a shift of resources, which is a big shift, but a shift of habit.
Right. Well, I think with the waterfront learning, that had been presented to us, but at the time, we need to discuss with the teachers how they see it working best for them.
Right, and then for our students, do we do just the online component? Do we do the online with face-to-face time? Who's that face-to-face time? Where do our teachers fit in? Is it our curriculum? Is it their curriculum? There are a lot of things to consider with the waterfront learning. And so we might not want to, and the feeling is that you sort of relinquish to this other academy, whereas this would, that's the feeling, right?
Yeah, and I think with what it almost seemed like they will do whatever you want.
Right, and so again, it's something to look into. We have every district has gaps that need to be filled and needs that need to be filled, and this is just another perspective as to how maybe some of the needs could potentially be addressed. And so bring your own devices, potentially, maybe something for this district, utilizing the open campus legislation, maybe this is something that would work for us.
Could I offer that maybe there's a discussion around all of that that can happen, almost like we're having a separate discussion on facilities and buildings. What does the future's curriculum and partnerships, and what does the educational process look like moving forward? And the one position that we just approved the post, I think, kind of plays into that role, but we don't have to wait for that position to be filled. I think we can have discussions like this now. I think there's plenty of research and observation that the educational model is shifting, and there's changes that others are piloting, and there's successes that folks are having, and there's new ways that technology gives us different ways to touch kids. I think there's some great stuff happening, and we have an awesome opportunity to leverage that and learn from others and maybe pilot a few things.
So realistically, we need to take into account in terms of technology, what is it that we can handle, what is it that we can support, and look at that at the same time as we're talking about maybe implementing some of these strategies. But we could have the ultimate goal of maybe doing something with the distance learning or what have you, but if we don't have the resources, the foundation in place, and if we don't have a plan of sustainability in place, then that goal is absolutely meaningless. So I mean, we've got a lot of talking and thinking to do in this district with the administrators and the board and parents. We've got to get everybody involved in this. Is this a direction that we want to head? Could this be a cost-effective way to handle some of our difficulties in terms of, and again, let's say there's difficulties that every district has, scheduling and course offerings and things like that. Is this something that is worthwhile? Is this something that would help us retain families within the district and offer them a different view of education to satisfy that choice hunger?
And that's part of my point. I agree with what you're saying. I think the choice movement isn't necessarily anti-school, other than there's new ways of approaching education. We're not throwing everything out that we've done, but there are new things that have popped up that supplement what most districts are currently doing. And I think not in a defensive mode to react to choice, but in a proactive mode of we as a board and as a district are looking at those new ways and new approaches to educating, and we're simply looking to take the best of the best.
And it's twofold to, we need to provide what's best for our students. Kirby, what do you spend a year on cyber charter schools? 400,000?
No. Total dollars, it's 2 years ago it was about 600,000. It was a little less last year, around 500 some thousand dollars.
That's a number that we might look to recapture some of that. But I mean that's the financial side of it. But I think initially I would be concerned about what we're not providing for the students that we do have here, and start there.
Right,
and hope to build on that.
Right, and so, but I'm just talking about potential. So potentially, I mean, not only could you satisfy the needs of the students that are currently here, but maybe stave off the predicted flux of people on the choice side. Because oftentimes it's not a complete dissatisfaction, it's one or two key areas that are sources of dissatisfaction. And if we can figure that out and address that after we do what we can to address the needs of the students here.
Going off of that, I think of it as enabling us to meet the needs of more students, because some students' needs they just have trouble getting them met in a traditional classroom. So what it does, so for me, it's not just about parent choice, but it's about widening the range of our ability to address the needs of students who may be different, outside the norm, where most kids do well in the traditional setting, but there are those kids who don't, and it allows us to have that offering for them.
And so, in terms of all that is out there, there's a blueprint from the state, approved law, open campus, and partner with other districts and offer distance learning. So just another configuration to consider. That's clearly hard enough. And I had one more question about, we received information briefly on a choral group, an extracurricular choral group, on a glee, sort of.
It was a club.
It was an extracurricular, it was a club, and I just wanted to know what was going on with that, whether there's a possibility in that, or they just let us thinking about
The choral teacher would like to do that, is offering to do that as a trial for this year, with the intent that if it launches and there's a lot of school interest, that we consider adding that as a supplemental position, a paid sponsored position for the following year. So for this year, it'd be an after school, be a way to recruit kids into the choral program, allow them to perform, but then she's looking at it as, if it takes off, we would add it as a paid sponsor for a club.
So that's happening now, this year, it's going to happen now this year.
It's proposed. If we go for it.
When was the choral teacher anticipating a response?
I discussed that with her. I would say maybe all around August 23rd or so, right before the teachers came back.
So maybe for the next meeting, have a discussion on that? I mean, I'm assuming she still wants to move forward.
The last time I spoke with her.
So maybe fellow directors, something to discuss next meeting?
Still a level request?
I mean, is it still an open request? Am I
Is it
understanding?
still
I don't know
request?
that we need to have a discussion.
We don't need to have,
on that.
okay, that's one of the things I'm wondering about.
I would think that that would be something that, I mean, you've had the discussion already, would be a recommendation as to whether or not you want to proceed with it for this year.
Right,
Okay, so-
because it would be contingent on, because that's the contingency. Because it's, you know, for this year, she's willing to do it and put on all extra time.
Okay, so that's also for
Right.
this year.
Right, but then with the
Okay.
understanding though, that if she does it this year, it turns into.
I was
If
just,
it's a success.
I was
Right.
just trying to figure out, because we received information, and what I didn't know what we were supposed to do with that information. I didn't know if there was something we needed to vote on, I didn't know if it was something we needed to discuss. So it's happening, she's gonna use.
I mean, today's day 8. I don't know if she's recruited kids
Okay, but
with
you've
that.
given her permission to, or she has permission to.
I told her we were gonna discuss it.
Oh.
So, again, this, you're talking about something that the discussions we just had.
You mean we're
fairly
going to discuss it
recently.
as a board, or you were going to discuss it further with her?
I told her that we were gonna discuss it because the implications are that it's gonna become a pay, if it's approved, it's gonna be adding a supplemental position.
Now, when you use we, do you mean she and you? Or do you mean
If the
you?
I mean the
anticipation
board.
is that
Okay.
it's,
The board.
that if she does it this year, that it would be agreed that it would become supplemental, then that should be a board decision.
Right.
But if
Can we
we
not
are
make that
not,
decision till we see how this year goes?
That's the thing.
Could be recorded.
Yeah.
Well, I think that the first thing, I mean, wouldn't you want to see if there's a level of interest, at
Yeah.
least to begin with?
That's right.
Allow her to at least, you know, pursue the level of interest that there is before we ever set any type of fee structure.
With no
or
formal
size.
commitment.
But all I'm saying is that we received this information, and so my fear is that it's something that we needed to act on or discuss, and I didn't want to leave this teacher hanging with this idea. And then come March, she'll say to us, well, you never gave me a response. So I just want to be sure, what is our accountability, our responsibility in this, and if she needs to be
I would
brought
like
on
to see this move forward only with board approval, given the implications. There are discussions that have just begun, and there is the beginning of a process in which the water is being tested to see if there's sufficient interest. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Perhaps we can then look to, at the next board meeting, with further information from our superintendent about what level of interest exists, have a discussion about what we want to do going forward. I would ask a question at that point in time as to how this fits in with our overall program. We had a parent who came here with some issues with scheduling. Now, these were with courses, but I recall one of the things you said, Mr. Piper, was that we offer too much. Now, that makes it for a problem in terms of managing the schedule and the kids and whatnot. So I would want to know, I don't have any reason to believe that it's offering too much by offering another extracurricular, but I just want to make sure that in our desire to offer yet additional programs and opportunities for our kids, we're not undermining ourselves by becoming,
But it is
by
after
offering.
school.
Again, this is a club.
This is
I
after school.
I understand, but, you know, we can only offer, you know, if you talk about athletics, for example, we run into a danger if in the fall, in addition to what we had, now we're gonna offer girls field hockey, and we're gonna offer cross country, and we're gonna offer this and offer that, all good sports, but given our size and our students and what they get involved in, I think we have to consciously say, there should only be so many. And I don't know enough to say where we are with this, I just put it out there as a question. Would this create some conflicts or undermine other things kids are into at this point in time? That would be a question I'd put forward.
And I think, actually, this, and I'm just gonna throw it out there, but something like, girls ensemble has been it's a great course, but it's been a big problem with our scheduling. I would propose that we look at doing something like that before school or after school. And that would
I
take
think
it
that's a very
totally
good
out of
point.
the equation. That
As a
we
course.
can't, that they can't get Spanish or the scholars classes. It's a special course, and it's, I mean, I think my sister-in-law and Billy, they do their band and chorus before school. So it's a non-issue with the schedule. So it's just something to consider, especially with girls ensemble, which I think is offered once.
Again, it's all about choices, but we're here for the,
We also
the
don't-
arts are good, and they.
Yes.
And we also, we don't have that many, we have lots of athletics, but what extracurricular do we have in
Yes.
art? So
So there you go.
that way it'd be good.
So.
I think your suggestion, Betsy, is very good. And I think it really does create a fun because, I don't know, I think that one of the things, and I don't know what the extent or the length of this program would be, but I could see if it was something that's after school, and I know that probably this choral battle, I think there would be some students that would be involved in the musical, which is a pretty lengthy process, you know, and it might run a few months with rehearsals and so forth there after school. So maybe that suggestion would, actually allow more students to participate without taking away from something else.
But this current proposal is an after-school
Yes.
proposal. This is not something that would directly impact the day-to-day schedule.
Well, it's
No.
just a proposal, I mean,
It's a proposal for an
It would be a
after-school,
separate
but it is a proposal for after-school. It's not a proposal to add something to next year's scheduling list that would interfere with any
No.
other coursework.
It's not academic, it's
Right.
extracurricular.
It's extracurricular.
It's supplemental.
after-school and supplemental and all of that.
It's,
So we will have,
not initially, it's just
Right, initially
trial
it's a
program.
trial program.
Okay. So,
so we will have further, I'm still trying to get my head around what, as a board, would be.
let's talk about it at the next meeting, having seen what the response is and what the interest is among the student population.
I just didn't want to leave her hanging. If we
Fair
have,
enough,
if
fair
we
enough.
have board has to do
No,
something about this, then let us figure out what it is we need to do, and let us not leave her hanging.
I agree.
Yes or no, but definitely. Okay, so we'll have further discussion,
well, we need some feedback at the next meeting to see what the
feedback at next meeting.
And not just, I would add, in closing on this topic, not just necessarily how many kids are interested, but any other information that's going to help this board make a decision.
And if there would be, as Betsy suggested, any alternative for a recess or early morning session, this is the after school.
Well, I mean, that's.
You know, it's an open topic.
Absolutely.
It's an open topic.
So, further discussion under new business. Mr. Schreiber.
One quick plug for STEM. I went to a Pittsburgh-based STEAM event last Tuesday or Wednesday up in Green Tree, and it was a private business and educational kind of consortium thing led by the Tech Council. Second year they had it, the second year I attended, I should say, and it was invigorating and inspiring and lots of great examples. They had a group or a program there called iRobot with some phenomenal displays of private businesses sort of seeding small amounts of money and curriculum with school districts with some phenomenal results just across the spectrum. So really cool stuff. Probably not the time for us to engage with lots of other things going on, but at some point when we're ready to talk about that, I'm not advocating a huge STEAM-only initiative, but I think there's elements of that we can incorporate and embrace, and I know JC, Dr. Bassett, you've done a lot of work with that at the elementary and Carnegie as well, so exciting stuff, and a lot of what they're doing is taking, as we look to prepare our kids for life, what does that mean, and what it meant in the 1950s is different than what it means today, and a lot of these STEM initiatives really apply to the way we talk about the future career opportunities. So the one guy that was presenting, the last point, the guy that's presenting, he doesn't want to knock college versus VOTEC versus whatever, but he said, we're all in a mindset of preparing all of our kids for college. And he goes, we've got this machine that's been running for years, and of all the jobs that are out there, and I'm messing the numbers around, 60% of them don't require a college degree. But we're trying to turn out all these college grads. And he goes, frankly, we're kind of missing the boat on some very good paying jobs and technical oriented jobs that can sustain our communities and our families, but we're not preparing our kids for these jobs. So continue the dialogue and just
Yeah, I'll share next meeting. I failed to bring the pamphlet that was handed out at CTC. But one of the things it pointed out is out of the programs, out of the technical centers,
it's not necessary to actually go on for post-secondary education. It's nice, you can earn some more money, you can develop some more skills, but there's jobs that pay almost the same as what a 4-year degree teacher is being paid. That you can come out of a technical setting and move into the Marcellus Shale area as one. I mean, there's many in the area. And the one thing I wanted to point out, there's 700 energy firms in this area looking for technical personnel. Not all with 4-year degrees.
And I think that word out that your path to financial independence, your post-high school life does not have to include college. And there are lots of jobs, lots of good jobs.
There's lots of opportunities.
Lots of opportunities that do not require a college degree. That's not to diminish the college degree or the importance of the college degree, but it's not the end-all be-all for every student. And just from my own family and my own personal experiences, there is so much that is out there for people who don't have a college degree, who have different skill sets, who have a different way of thinking about things. And I think we need to get that out more and value that more as we talk about what we're going to do to educate our children with 21st century skills. What does that actually mean in reality with the workforce the way it is today?
And I'll lastly plant the seed that you talk about partnerships and where we begin. I met the dean of Chatham. There were a number of local universities there, a number of local school districts, businesses, PPG, Bayer, Alliances. There was a number of corporations that spend millions of dollars looking to seed their next generation of employee. They want to help the schools develop these kids and help shape the curriculum to a certain extent to help get their future employees. They're seeing an enormous gap in available talent. So there are grants available, there are partnerships, much like we do with Carnegie Science Center, wonderful opportunities that exist today that we can leverage to help us. So it's not a matter of just us shouldering some burden and doing some stuff around. There's some great experiences we can share and some money that we can
Good stuff. Anything else in the new business? We'll move on to open floor. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm waiting my turn.
After you say.
But I have a request. The football boosters are organizing an event which they're hoping becomes an annual thing. It is a golf scramble. And I just wanted to see if it was proper, if I could request that information so that it gets out to the public, to our residents, because it's upcoming in October. If I could provide that information to Michelle, if it could be posted on our website.
Any reasons from a legal standpoint that we could?
Well, again, if you open it up to the football boosters, then all of the boosters would be able to say we'd like to put an event on the website as well.
Is that an issue with the board?
No.
We love our boosters.
Let's do it.
I'll send
Well,
it
let me
up
ask,
tomorrow.
let's ask, Gary.
No, I think that just promotes the Carlynton community.
Perhaps we might even just, well, let's start with that.
It's 100%. Our football.
Let's do it.
I'm just kidding.
Okay. Anything else under new business? We'll move on to open forum, open up the floor to anybody from the audience. If there's anything they want to, I'm sorry?
There were a couple things I wanted to ask under open forum. First of which was, I know at the beginning of the school year, some of the Promethean boards have not been installed yet. And I was wondering the progress of that. If you could answer that.
Mr. Nicolais in the back.
All the equipment is in. We're just waiting for a good time to install it. I talked to John Riccio. There's only one board left, and it's it's the board that they have to hang with the short throw projector. So he's just waiting for a good time to get into the classroom and hang it.
Where would that be at?
That's at Carlynton in what is it?
208.
208.
And when do you anticipate that good time being?
The equipment was in last week. I spoke to him last week, and he said as soon as possible he can get it done.
Like,
he didn't give me any sort of time frame.
Basically,
So
like,
I'll speak to him again tomorrow to see if I can get time.
So all Promethean boards are hanging up in Carnegie?
Yeah, Carnegie is finished. That was the only one, and
Okay, there's one left in Craft.
Right.
How many boards were installed, if I could ask?
13 total boards.
And I think we owe it to that last classroom to get that board in.
Oh, absolutely. I've spoken with the teacher, and
Yeah, it's time.
we've made.
Yeah, I mean, that's 4 open house. We can see 2.
Yeah, that'd be.
Was
Was there delay in the equipment delivery? Is that what caused?
Two of the overboard mounts got lost. So I called the company when like 6 arrived. We were supposed to get 7 and 6 arrived. So I called them and they said, yes, one is lost. I said, well, overnight is one. We purchased enough stuff from you guys, and he did that, and it came in a couple days later. So we have everything now. It's just a matter of them making time to do it, to hang the last one.
Is this something that, are the teachers, maybe JC knows, are the teachers on board with any kind of training for the use of these boards, or are we working with our technology coach to?
Yeah, Mr. Javadin is there when he can be. His schedule is very limited this year.
At your school? Or?
At the elementary in general.
At both elementaries?
Yes.
And the reason for that is he has more class time?
He has, it's his turn for a duty, his 6th period, I'm sorry. Yeah,
But his
so,
periods aren't consecutive, I was told.
I don't know what his schedule is up here.
Bottom line is
that
Mr.
he's-
Javadin is here at the high school till 12:30, something
Till
like that.
6th period
So
rather
he said
than.
maybe 1 o'clock or so by the time he
So,
reported 1.
yeah, from
to the
about 1
elementary
to
schools.
3.
So that's
So he's at 2 hours.
Right. And he's in Crafton Monday, Wednesday, he's in Carnegie Tuesday, Thursday, and then Friday is just kind of whoever's fitting into his afternoon schedule on those days. I mean, believe me, the teachers are ecstatic about having the boards. They're using them already. And Ryan is wonderful in providing them with the resources. We'd love to have more of him, if that was ever possible, but, we're making do, and the teachers are definitely giving up their free time to work with him on those things.
I'll ask a dumb question, but we want to temporarily look at an overtime thing if he's willing to do it on a Saturday and bring a bunch of teachers in and buy lunch, and we'll do the training on a Saturday if we need to kind of jumpstart things at the beginning of the year.
I mean, where are you gonna have that?
They were doing the lunch and learns, but if he's not available at lunchtime, then that
And I think
becomes one.
that's part of the issue. Mr. Michelet and Mr. Javadin were coming
Those
down
were excellent.
over all 3 lunch periods, so it covered the opportunity for every teacher to attend. And, I think for most topics, we had some decent attendance, and the teachers were really taking that stuff and going back to the classrooms and using it. But yeah, with his schedule, there's just no opportunity for that this year.
My understanding is the technology coach is on an 8 to 3 schedule, like an elementary schedule. So there's no first period that's being taught here. And in the past, was that the same last year, the year before? I mean, it was the same deal. Did he have a duty in the past? Or did he just have 2 classes?
He never had to.
Okay. Because I was looking at the job description for this, and it talked about this person would teach 2 classes at the high school and then go to the elementary school. But he's here for like 4 classes.
3.
What?
That's still more than 2.
For 3 classes. Oh.
Because it was, in the department, it was a rotate through for the 6th period.
Well, he doesn't, I guess, so we're clear on where I'm going with this conversation. He's not teaching the 6th period. He's teaching a 3rd period.
I believe what he,
And
up here, yes.
Yeah, I mean, so I read the language of the contract, and I read it as talking about a full-time teacher at the high school. In certain instances, instead of 5, would have a 6th period. I read the job description for Mr. Javad's job description says specifically 2 periods. So perhaps he shouldn't be teaching an addition of 3 periods. What options do we have to make that change? Just in terms of kids in the class that he's teaching right now.
It's some of the classes he teaching a part of the 9-week courses that the junior high students take.
And in some of those rotations, there are 2 business type of courses that are offered at the same time. And that was one of the reasons why that's where the 3rd period fit in.
So the next 9 weeks, you'll be more available?
No, there's a different set of students each 9 weeks.
Yeah, I just looked, there's a master schedule down in Miss Eddie has, and 6th period is PowerPoint. Is that one of the
Yes.
rotations?
For the 8th grade.
8th grade?
Yes.
So he has a 2nd period, 3rd period, prep, lunch, and then 6th period is.
So he's up here for 5 periods. There's a prep and lunch in there. He's up here for 5 periods. In the past, was he up here for more than 2 periods? Was he up here for lunch, or was he up here for prep in the past? So in the past, he'd be here for 2 teaching periods, a prep period, and a lunch.
What time did he get to Carlynton, those elementaries last year?
Well, I don't know if he'll want me to say this, but Ryan is the kind of person who often gave up his prep and lunch and would travel to our buildings and maybe, eat on the fly while he's meeting with our teachers. So I know it was in his schedule up
Right.
here, but I think oftentimes he kind of overlooked that. And
So that 6th period is what's holding him back.
Yes.
That 6th period class.
Right.
But if we need him to teach, we need him to teach. I don't.
Well, we're in a situation now, that's right. So,
I don't want to make it seem like, oh, this is in his way. No, we need him to teach.
But then that's not a good job description.
He's able to do
Well, if that class, if the schedule works out, and everything else, we should want to shift another, if everything works out this way, I mean, this is the reality of what is. And short of, going back in time and, taking that Classroom for the Futures grant and then paying for that and having a full-time position, we have to work with what we have. We need to.
that's what we're trying to do.
Right.
Exactly.
But at the same time, trying to satisfy the needs with all these new boards and
Right,
training and so forth.
and that's difficult.
Because
2 hours
I'm
a
also
day.
hearing that, it's a lot less than we had last year.
Right, but that unfortunately is the reality of what happened with scheduling this year.
Well, looking beyond that, because as you stated, you need to teach the classes that are already set up. So what options do we have, as was suggested, to try to bring that same amount of training in some other manner?
Right.
Whether it's after school, on Saturdays, whatever the case is.
Right, but,
You know.
but I was just worried with the tone of some of the language being used that is holding him back. And so just honor the fact that he needs to be teaching.
Well,
that's,
To me, it shows that description of that he has to be split like that is a problem.
Is a
Because
problem.
this is, you're right, both of those things are important, but if we want to support, the technology, one suggestion that I might think of is that we leave him here at the high school and then he can, let him be a coach here if he's up here teaching, and then we hire somebody else to do
Right.
the coaching down there, then you don't run into that conflict.
Right, which is what I'm saying, that, short of doing that, and now we have to do it contractually, if we want to do something on a Saturday, or if we want to do something with the teachers after school or before school, what is allowable, what is doable.
But it's a problem because the high school is left without any coach and the elementaries need more.
Right, this is absolutely something that,
We can discuss it in the next
right,
meeting.
this is absolutely something that when the classroom as a Futures grant was ended, and we had the option of taking up the slack or not, this was one of the potentials that we saw coming.
Yep,
And so
absolutely.
here's the reality. It wasn't a good plan, but here we are. And so, and keeping in mind that next year, we could potentially be in a situation again where the teacher is teaching other classes.
Well, but listen, I would suggest, at least from my perspective, the issue, the great significance of this issue is the fact that he's at the high school for an additional period. I would say that even more time than has been allotted in the past in elementary school could be used, but instead of allotting more time, what we've done is even done less. So my thing was, in bringing this up, or pursuing this conversation, was the fact that he should be teaching here 2 periods, it seems to me. And I think we need to have all parties, including the Federation, the administration, everybody have a better understanding as to what this position is and how a 6 period works and all that. Frankly, in my opinion, he should not be teaching a 3rd period up here. That's not what the contract provides, in my reading of it. And that's where I was going with it. We are where we are currently. I'm not suggesting we're gonna leave a bunch of junior high school kids sitting around trying to teach themselves PowerPoint, but
But I think it was kind of a rock and a hard place situation where the contract says 2, but if they have an educational need for 3.
But what you've done is but that says it's okay to shortchange the elementary school. If we had a greater need here, let's not do that at the cost of the elementary school.
But we
It's
did
my-
shortchange the high school when we took away the coach. They had no coach in the elementary.
Well, that's another issue entirely.
And so let-
It
so-
exacerbates it by going
Right.
to the third
So
period.
perhaps as we have this conversation, perhaps this is too much for one person.
Yes, I think that's probably
And
where a lot of
perhaps
us may
it's
go with
played out
this.
now that we see that it is too much for one person to expect them to teach and then do all this other stuff, and then everyone is shortchanged and unhappy again.
And to help put it in perspective for some folks who may be watching this, we had 2 people doing these jobs, but we had some funding coming in to help with the cost
And that program.
one position that program is no longer in effect, so there was a body that was eliminated in order to not incur any additional cost. So, this may be something
But the need was never
diminished.
diminished.
If anything, it gets greater every year.
Yeah, the need, and so here we are.
Yeah.
So, but I just wanted to be cautious that we don't say, oh, well, what an outrage that this man is teaching 3 periods, when I would argue that he needs to be teaching 2 periods.
You missed my point.
Somebody
You
needs
missed
to
my
be
point.
teaching
You said-
those
The way the job was set up, there was a job description.
Right,
And
and
the job description stated that he would teach 2 classes here and then be available for elementary school.
Right.
So it's just a little hiccup that.
Right, but just understanding that the realities of our need was such that the job description was sort of a fail, and that it didn't take into consideration
I don't know, last year it worked. It worked last year, so I'm not sure.
But things change in a year, so just because it worked last year doesn't necessarily work this year, just because it didn't work last year.
So what's the dynamic that prompted the change? That's
Right.
really what it is.
And that's what we need to investigate, absolutely, absolutely.
All right, well, this clearly we need to move forward on this. It's a resolution to technology and not just the hardware, but also the ability to use it at all
Right.
levels.
Yeah, and you know that I'm crazy for it, we're gonna use technology and stuff.
Absolutely.
And this is a song I've sung too many times. So, understand where I'm coming from, but at the same time, just defending the decisions that are made.
Further discussion and anything else under open forum before we begin a second meeting?
No, the other thing this kind of brings up another issue. I know we've been committed to Matt Greiner was here last meeting about having scheduling issues with his daughter's schedule. And I know that other folks are as well, and just wondering where we're at with some of these issues and what we've been able to do to help get their kids classes that they need. I'll just throw that out there, whether Piper wants to address it or Dr. Senior. Remember, but I think, having had the end of the new business and things that Director Shell was bringing up as far as options going forward, that's great, but there's a need now to address some issues. And just wondering where we might be at with those things.
Well, I think one of the things that I'm working on, and I recognize Dr. Sassini put a lot of hard hours in. It's very difficult to try to balance and try to get the schedule that everybody's going to be pleased. We're a small school. We offer a heck of a lot of electives. We offer, for kids to graduate, they have over 9 electives that they had. I think we have 24 credits, which is above the state minimum. A lot of our electives are half-credit electives, which again, when you couple trying to balance the electives in, looking at the staff numbers that we have, whereas I believe some staff we have lost over the years, but we're still trying to offer the courses. And I think what has happened is we don't have a lot of kids sometimes to run multiple sections of multiple courses. Tie that in with some requirements in a collective bargaining agreement that you have to look at seniority when you're assigning duties and the rotating of who's got a 6th period, who's got a 5th. It's hard to do that and try to get everybody that they're going to have what they initially sign up for electives. And I think a lot of the issues that we're talking about are electives. Now, having said that, I believe there are opportunities to try to think out of the box. What we're looking to do for next year is to revamp the scheduling process. I met with Dr. Sassini about that. We're looking to, I'm forming a faculty committee to go back through the course select book and take a look at the things that we're offering. Some things in that course select book we don't offer, but they're still listed there. I don't see it coming in, still getting to know the district and getting to know the territory. What benefit is it to a student if we offer an elective 4th period and the kid has 2 days of the week they may have gym, 2 periods of the week they may have one elective, 1 period of the week they may have band. Well, if I'm the band director and I'm trying to build my program, I need that kid 5 days a week. But by the same token, if you're going to take band, and a lot of kids are very devoted to music, and you're going to take band, you really have to go in understanding, I'm going to take some of the electives, but band's going to be one of the electives that I use all 4 years that I'm in a secondary program. So I think we have to look at it system-wide with what's being offered, how is our credit structure set up, how are we able to offer the core academics that the kids are going to need, like the advanced placement classes, but then how do we go to some of the electives and say, where do we balance that? So the balance is how do we provide an arts, how do we provide, we have to provide phys ed, but phys ed, you're required for 1 credit of phys ed. So that can be a 1/4 credit a year that you take it. Well, how long do I have to take? A marking period? So those are the things that with the committee we're going to take a look at, so that my goal is we can get scheduling done and get a course select book revised to the board around January, right when budget time's coming around. So we can get and have the counselors go into the classrooms, do a demand tally. Now, demand tally is when you go in and here's the 9th graders and they have their course select sheet with what's being offered after the course direct book's been approved by the board, and they sign up for the classes and then they sign up for the electives and prioritize them. I'd like to take music first, I'd like to take intro to psychology second, or whatever it is. And then there's a program in ProSoft, and that's where we're doing the training in January with the school counselors.
This is a new software.
No. We already have ProSoft. Now, so that's why the training is really going to work with what we already have. And then they go in and you feed the numbers into the computer, and then it'll tell you, I got 65% scheduled versus 1 conflict. I've got 75% scheduled, maybe 2 conflicts. And then you can go and individually tweak student schedules. Because it's very rare when you put a schedule in that you're going to get, everybody's going to get what they want the first time out. So then sometimes you do have to pick and choose and balance. How am I going to take this? I have a conflict. The ideal is, we just got in a scheduling board. So when you're looking at the master schedule, you want the master schedule to work with what's in ProSoft when you're looking at the numbers. So that when you're looking at a board, let's say I have for Algebra 1, you're going to have, say for 9th grade, we do a high school algebra class, you got 100 kids. So if you want to set, say 25 kids a schedule, 25 kids a period for Algebra 1 for 9th grade, boom, you're going to have 4 sections that you're going to spread out. You can map that onto the board and really get a look at how I'm going to spread this out during the day. Well, what are my single classes? So let's say for girls, elite ensemble, choral ensemble, I've got 20 kids to sign up for it. Well, you're not going to have 2 sections of 10. You're going to have 1 section of 20. So where do I put that in the schedule that maybe it's not conflicting with who's going into that class? So when you run the program in the ProSoft and you see where the conflicts are, if I have AP Bio at the same time as I have Intro to Psychology and Girls Choral Ensemble, and it's resulting in, maybe I only have 5 kids in Girls Ensemble because they're all taking the bio, maybe before I do the final schedule, I can revise that, move the schedule periods, then try another run. That's how you tweak it. So those are the things we'll look.
Eventually what you're looking to do is minimize conflicts.
That's right. That's what you're trying to do. You can't guarantee that there's going to be an elimination of conflicts, but when you do some of the trial runs and you see where the numbers are jamming up. So for example, tech school. Whenever we send the kids to tech school, I know that we got to provide the kids with English, we got to provide the kids with the graduation credits they're going to need. So I got to be sure classes are available when they get back from tech to be able to take that, so it doesn't jam it up.
Yeah, because what do we send? Do we send morning and afternoon, or just morning?
We just send morning.
Okay.
So that's how you got to. Right. So that's how you got to look at it. We got to look at science. If we have kids in the tech program, and we're trying to give everybody a science lab, maybe we can't give everybody a science lab. Maybe we need to give them what they need in order to be able to graduate, or maybe we need to be able to see what can they take there in terms of hours to meet the graduation requirements. So scheduling is a big priority for me for building for this year. Now, thinking out of the box to try to work some people, we've tried to schedule some people, they get a period here of an elective they want and somewhere else. The problem is, in some cases, we only have one elective at a certain spot. And it's just not feasible at this point to shut down and rip the whole schedule apart and start from scratch. We're already in school, and that's where some of the conflict's coming from. But as far as what we're doing with scheduling, there's a lot of interest from the faculty, the admin team, to get together and take a look at how it's currently configured, because we believe we can do better. And the goal would be, when the kids leave here by Memorial Day, that they have a tentative schedule, barring, that anybody fails a class, needs to retake the PSSA, something like that. Because part in a new schedule, you have to build in some intervention time or class tutoring time, so they prepare for Keystones if they have to retake that during one of the times. So maybe to lose a period of gym class, but something like that. So you can provide intervention during the day, still provide electives that the kids will need to meet their graduation or college entrance requirements, and try to offer as much as we can. But I believe, looking through our course select book, we try to offer almost too much. And that's something I think we need to take a hard look at, because we're really going to be in a position, as all Pennsylvania schools are, where we have to look at how are we going to provide Keystone classes and prep classes for kids who do not pass the Keystone, or Module 1 of the Keystone, and they have to retake when they have to do a senior project, which is going to be mandated by PDE if they don't pass X amount of key. Where do I build that into? So those are going to take the place of some electives, because they're going to have to, if we want the kids to graduate and move on. So it's not perfect. Again, we're just a small school with so many classes and so many times during the day. So I think we need to try to look outside the box with trying to get some schedules where there's conflicts. But we have like peer-to-peer phys ed. I just think we need to take a look at how some of these things are scheduled. Why are we running them the way they're running them? Do they meet the requirements? Are we going above and beyond for the credits? When really, a half credit here, a half credit there. If I have 1 day a week of band or 2 days a week, is that enough time in that class to master the content to take the elective? I would argue, no. I would argue, if we're in band and I'm a band student, I got that 5 days a week. And going in, you got 5 days a week, and you also know, if you're a band student, more likely than not, you're going to be in it for 4 years. So those are some of the things we're trying to put in place now for next year, and working with Dr. Sassini, working with the school counselors, working with the Federation, because I think everybody's on the same page with recognizing we can do this better, so that we're not getting jammed up with some of the conflicts that we're getting jammed up with now.
Further discussion? Anything else under open forum? Yes.
I have a question. I'll make this fast on personnel, item number 4. At the last meeting, you talked in length to Mrs. Hudson about the 4th grade classrooms and the kindergarten, and it was decided to keep the 3 4th grades, keep the 3 kindergartens, and then I think it was Betsy that suggested bringing an aide back from furlough to work with those kindergarten students since the numbers were high. So tonight, am I correct that you voted to post for 2 positions?
We voted to post for 5. 2 of them are aides, 1 for kindergarten and Carlynton.
Right, and then the clerical.
The language that is in this agenda is not the language we approved.
Okay, so what are the 5 then? just to clarify.
The five, I pass that over to Michelle.
The five are the test coordinator, data specialist, curriculum supervisor.
One position.
As an Act 93 administrative position, that's one.
Okay, so that's not an aides position then?
No, a
Okay.
homeschool visitor
Oh, right, okay,
and a math teacher.
right,
And then the aides are an aide for Carnegie for kindergarten,
right.
and then an aide for Crafton as an inclusion aide to work as Dr. Mazzik's going to assign them.
Okay, so you didn't have to like amend that or anything before you?
No, the language in the written document, which we use as our guide as we go
Okay.
forward, it was not the language of the motion. The motion which was made, which was verbal,
Okay,
it was for 5 positions as outlined by Mr. Pfeiffer. So if you're looking at this,
right.
you're not seeing what we did.
Okay, because I know that we didn't talk about one of them at the last meeting, and then when Jim Shriver was asking about item number 4, and he said 5 people, it made it sound like there were 5 aides. So I just
No, no,
wanted to
no.
clarify what that was.
2 aides,
Right.
3 other positions.
Didn't you do 2 aides?
No, 3 aides, Crafton, Carnegie,
Yeah,
and
we
the
did.
clerical aide.
Yeah.
Well, I'm talking about at this meeting. At this meeting, we approved 2 aides, at this meeting today. And 3 other meetings, and 3 other
And
meetings.
these are the two that we talked about last time.
There were 2 aides in the last meeting as well.
Right, these two.
Oh, but you know what? We didn't vote because
Right.
we wanted job descriptions.
Yeah,
Right.
we didn't vote
Well,
because.
there were,
There were jobs for she.
No, there weren't job descriptions.
What-
last
what-
time, but it
Did
wasn't
we
in
vote,
writing.
did we vote, did we vote for
Let's
that?
look at the minutes.
what are you trying to understand?
The question that we had was, what are the 3 positions that you're posting for? Are they for one for Carnegie
What, the positions that are, the aides positions
that are being
specifically?
posted? Yes.
Specifically, what are the aides positions that are being posted?
Again, the aides positions that are new tonight are the kindergarten aide for Carnegie
Right.
and an inclusion aide for Crafton.
And then we do intend to post, or do we not post for the 2 we talked about last?
What we did last time was say we were going to create them, and we temporarily filled them until they got in this agenda. That's why they're asking, are they gonna be posted tomorrow?
So those may, well.
So there wouldn't be an interruption of service.
Right.
So in the very end, are you gonna have 2 aides or 4 aides?
4 aides
Four.
posted
Four.
tomorrow, that's what they're asking.
Right.
4.
So we
So
have 2
we
aides from
include-
the last meeting and 2 aides in this meeting that will be posted.
But, Mrs. Myford, are you saying though that the 2 aides from the last meeting were not officially voted on?
Correct,
Right.
they were filled so that we didn't furlough.
Okay, so it sounds to me, am I right, that we still need a motion then to post for,
As
We
they're
did-
written here.
right.
Well,
So
That's what they.
this was not crossed out, but we still need
Oh,
a
we should have
motion
done that.
under number 4.
Number 4 is
oh, I see,
different.
I see, those are different. Those are
Right.
different.
Yeah,
Right.
that was my
So we
question.
should have done the 4 plus
So
these 2.
we should have
Okay.
done 4 plus 2, so we just need
I
a
thought
motion
so, yeah.
for number 4.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
You're
Thank
welcome.
And that will give 4, then that will
Are
give
we
4
all,
aides.
we understand?
Yes.
I think
Yes.
it's done
Shall we
here.
have to make the motion?
Yeah.
That was the question I had.
Are everybody back from furlough and they will be?
So we should, do you want
I
me to
will
make a motion?
entertain a motion to approve the posting for the positions of instruction inclusion aide and clerical/data/special education aide. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion on the motion? There being none, we will vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions, motion passes.
Thank you.
And I apologize, that was
Oh, no,
my
I was
fault.
just
We
very
had, no, we had
confused.
discussion in executive session of some additional positions. I mistakenly thought these 2 were part of those, so I apologize.
So when they
My
come
fault.
down,
Thank you for
they'll
bringing that
just
to our
know.
attention.
That was that earlier question, but, yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
I have some scheduling questions. I want to know, when you're looking at changing the whole system, which needs to be changed, will you consider shortening the time of the classes so that you can add another period onto the day? So instead of 8 periods, you'd have 9 periods that the kids would have more opportunities to take classes that they want and need to take. My second question is, what is the state requirement for how many credits you have to have for graduation for gym?
Well, you just
For gym?
revert to
For
the
gym.
second one. You just,
It's one.
It's 1 credit. So is each gym class you take a half a credit?
It's as you go through each year, you can almost get a quarter credit for gym for the year.
Just a quarter credit. So is that something that we can look into as well, so that possibly make it a half a credit for a year, so that maybe a student could take gym in 9th and 10th grade, not be required to take it in 11th and 12th grade, which would, again, free up a period that they could take a class that they want or need to take.
And if I may, I think that gets more into a discussion on what this board feels is appropriate in terms of graduation requirements. And while I understand doing that would free things up academically, there are some of us, myself included, who feel, in fact, that maybe we should look at adding physical ed, that we have an issue throughout the country with regard to obesity and health and exercise for our kids. I've had discussions with the previous and current superintendent about our body mass index, BMI, and maybe as an objective we should work toward reducing that throughout the district. So I think your suggestion is one that the board should consider, but it has to also be, I would suggest, taken in light of the downside of
And I totally understand that point. I'm a nurse, I totally get it.
So,
but my other point is, so for instance, my children are involved in the school sports. Why can't that count as a gym course, especially if now we're getting all these teachers to coach? Why can't that be counted as a gym course? I mean, I understand that kids need exercise, but there are plenty of kids in this district that get plenty of exercises because they are involved in school sports. I'm not talking about the community sports, school-regulated sports, especially now that we have all these teachers that are coaching the sports. They could grade them.
and just to put it in perspective as well, you're saying a number of individuals being approved for coaches. We haven't added on additional sports or additional positions.
No, I know you haven't added on, but
It's what we've always
coaches
had.
have changed, and it seems like more teachers are getting involved, which I'm glad.
Sure.
I love to see the teachers get involved. I'd love to see the parents get involved. But I'm just trying to find a way that my kid and other kids have more opportunities to take classes, because yes, there are kids that don't plan to go to college, and there are kids that plan to go to college. And the ones that plan to go to college need certain courses to get into the college that they want to get into. And it's very difficult to fit all those in because of the way the scheduling's done. Currently, my son has taken a bunch of electives that he never asked for, and he's forced to take them because that's all that's offered during the period that he doesn't have a core course.
I think your points are very well taken. I think it's a problem we've seen here, and this entire board recognizes it as one that needs to be dealt with and dealt with immediately. You asked also about adding a 9th period. There are districts, Chartiers Valley, I know, does that as well. There are pluses and minuses to that. We have a contract with the Federation that specifically structures it the day in terms of 8 periods. So that would be one thing we'd have to talk about with the Federation. First, we talk about it with the administration. First, actually, we talk about it amongst ourselves as a board, the pros and the cons. I think that's certainly something I've wanted to see us have a discussion about. Not taking a specific position on it myself, but see it as an opportunity for us to provide additional flexibility in the schedule to deal with some of these problems. But I think first and foremost, the things that Mr. Pfeiffer talking about in terms of using some of the tools that we have that are available to us to make the current system that we have work better is the first thing we ought to be doing. And I'm very optimistic we're going to see some positive things in there. But to the extent that you've had some frustrating moments and
Each
issues
year here.
with certainly Dr. Sassini, and if you've had a chance to talk to our Dr. Sassini, Mr. Pfeiffer is available as well to talk to try to
And I
hopefully-
love the idea of the schedule coming out the year before, because this year, my son's schedule wasn't even mailed to us. I had to come up here and ask for it. And the first schedule they handed him, half the day was study halls. And in my opinion, they should be embarrassed to hand that in to him. That was ridiculous. And we had to work, and I've been working for weeks trying to get it. So if I could have it the year before,
Absolutely.
and take the time to really work it out and see what's going to work best for everybody, I would greatly appreciate it. And
We
I'm
all want
sure
the same
all the
thing.
other parents would appreciate it as
We
well.
all want the best educational experience we can have for our kids. I think you appreciate that there's a real science to this, and it's challenging, but clearly we can do a better job, and we will do better.
And then my other thing is that part of the district's policy is that if a student fails a subject, the district is, it's my understanding, the district pays for that student to go to CCAC online course or something to recover the credit. Is that true or false?
I do not know.
They do not.
I don't know. I can't, I'd have to look at the policy to be able to tell you. You're saying that if a student fails a subject
That they need for graduation.
they need for graduation, we
Who
pay
pays
to
for
have
that
that
recovery
child go to
course?
CCAC. I'm not familiar, I'm not saying it's not there, I'm not familiar with it. I don't know if Mr. Piper.
I don't know anybody that does that.
There are credit recovery programs. I've had kids go and I had to pay.
There are credit recovery programs. In the back of our program studies several years ago, we started to include some information about online courses as far as credit recovery or enrichment. And in both cases, the cost is taken care of by the family.
And what was that one? Was it
Project
Dimitri?
Succeed at Keystone.
Yeah, Keystone, yeah, we still do that.
We do that. That's credit recovery primarily for seniors, sometimes juniors.
Right, so there are, but I cannot remember anything about the district paying for courses at CCAC. I don't remember anything about that. That is not, I don't think that's a reality.
So, okay, so the families are paying for this.
I know families have done that, and they have paid. And I have known families also not just for credit recovery, but for enrichment, and they have done that as well. But not at district cost, at the family's cost.
Knowing that you have particular issues right now that are time sensitive, we've advised other families that have any scheduling issues to address them very quickly with Dr. Sassini and with Mr. Pfeiffer in a day or two. There have been some creative solutions that they've come up with the help of the teachers that have gotten a lot of relief for folks.
And I actually tried that, and the teachers I tried it with weren't willing to work outside their contract.
I don't know if Dr. or Mr. Pfeiffer, sorry.
We're just rooting for you so hard.
Have you had a chance to talk to Mr. Pfeiffer by chance?
I emailed him.
Okay.
So maybe we can set up a time to talk tomorrow, and if there is a creative out-of-the-box solution, like you found in other instances, we can get that kicked off very quickly, and if not, then we can very quickly move to Plan B, whatever.
Because ultimately, we're all looking for the same thing.
Right.
I would hope.
Ultimately, that is the truth. I mean, we can't believe anything other than we're all looking. I mean, and how we get there is it might be clunky at times and awkward, and we're treading, we're trailblazing new ground for us and trying to make our way. But you've got to at least have that faith that we're all looking for the same goal, which is the best educational experience for your children, meeting them on their terms, and that's what we're trying for. That's ultimately everybody's goal here. I think that's as frustrating as it is, we keep that in mind and try to work together and try to find, and at this point, maybe not the perfect solution, but at least a sensible, workable solution, given the time frame that we have, where we are now in the school year. Because, I mean, we're parents.
So,
I don't think there's not a one of us who's not a parent.
so you have something to go away with?
I need an answer by Monday because I need to know what he needs to do.
Well, Mr. Pfeiffer, I'd suggest that you meet with him.
Yes, I'll be in tomorrow.
Certainly, I don't think anybody here is promising anything.
I understand that.
Rather understand the specific situation that we want to try to do the best we can, given where we are right now. And we've, while as Mr. Schreiber pointed out, there've been some successes. I don't want to give you the wrong impression. Nobody's walked away and having everything exactly the way they wanted, but we want to give our all to try to help you get, to the extent that we can, to the best place. Certainly a better place if you maybe right now. So I suggest maybe giving him a call tomorrow.
Even if you want to find him later and exchange times that work for both of you, that's good. We'll both be here afterwards. So.
With that, I'll ask if there's anything else then on your open forum. Anybody else would like to bring up? If not, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn. Before I do that, we will take a 5-minute, is that enough time to stretch your legs? 5-minute recess. and then call to order a second meeting, which will be discussing facilities and the future of this district in terms of our investment improvements in our facilities. So with that said, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the current meeting. Is there such a motion? So there's a motion. Is there a second? Moving second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Meeting is adjourned.